Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Okay. Ready, Piper? Okay, welcome everybody to the regular HARC meeting of Wednesday, August 20th, 2025 at 5:30 PM, a hybrid meeting at Rebecca Hall. The public may join electronically or by phone. If you're out there listening at 301-715-8592, meeting ID is 898-5033-9990. The pass code tonight is 618929. As a reminder, the purpose of HARC is to preserve, maintain, and enhance the historic character, scale, and architectural integrity and cultural resources of the town and the Telluride Historic Landmark District. So the meeting is now called to order, and we have from Town Council, Elena, thank you, staff, Kristen, Darren, Allie, Piper. They listen electronically. There another staff member. That's what I got to everybody. Yes, that's it. So thank you, and we'll call the roll call here, starting down here. Stacy.
Stacy Lake. Matt Lee.
Mark Chamba.
Bob Mather.
Elitza Mladenova.
Okay. We're kind of a lean board tonight, so every vote counts.
But we're tough.
First order of business is approval of the minutes from July 16th, regular meeting. I have one addition, minutes were correct, but I have one addition to the meeting. I'd like to add for the record. On 457 West Pacific, the non-land use code compliant project, the director said she would confirm the site coverage, and that's how the minutes read, which is true. But there was an additional statement at 29.54 and 32 minutes and 22 seconds that said that she would confirm by the end of deliberations, and then that was later relaxed to a memo to the board the following day on July 17th. I would just ask in the name of transparency, as the mayor and everyone espouses, if there's any clarification of what you found in open and transparent form you'd like to share with the board, or you know, wait till it comes up again. Kristen?
What's that? Oh, are you asking me
I
to?
just ask if
Sure.
the name of openness and transparency, if you, because the memo didn't come the next day as
Certainly.
record. If
So
you can
land,
share
sure.
what was wrong, or you can wait till the next meeting when it
No.
comes up.
I'm happy to provide an update. The land use code compliance piece is not in the purview of the Historic and Architectural Review Commission. And so staff subsequently reviewed the projects as they were revised based on the conditions proposed by HARC. And we will continue to do that prior to them coming to the meeting, but I do have the discretion as director to allow a project to proceed to public hearing irrespective of that land use code compliance piece if there's a question, and we do follow up as staff. But again, it's outside the purview of HARC to bring up land use code compliance issues. Your purview is the
Okay.
design
And
guidelines.
just as a reminder for the public, no projects are to come to this board with land use code violations, of which 2 did at the last meeting, for the record. Thank you. All right, I'm going to move on to Bob. Do you have something?
I have an addition of a couple words for lot 7 and 8. The motion, number 2, condition number 2. It says, and on the east unit B building setback, the second floor windows, it should say setback the wall above the second floor windows, and a minimum of 2 feet with a shed roof.
So I will review the audio.
I did review the
and that's
audio.
what it-
That's
okay.
exactly what it said. We had talked about it like 10 times before. And Mark, I listened to it 3 times. Mark said exactly that.
Okay,
So just
I didn't catch it,
an error, no big deal.
but just clarification. So
It'll
thank you.
make more sense to the applicant now.
Any other comments in the minutes? Otherwise, let's vote. Stacy, as revised,
Could we?
as revised. Oh, I'm asking to approve the minutes as revised.
Oh, okay,
As
okay.
revised.
We have to make a motion, yes.
Would you like to?
Sure, I would like I would like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as revised.
I'll second that.
Stacy, yes.
Matt, yes.
Mark, yes.
Bob, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Staff announcements. Kristen.
We have no announcements this evening. I know we have a longer meeting, a full docket, and so we can proceed.
Okay. Any public on a comment on non-agenda items? Looking electronically, please raise your hand if you have something you want to speak to on a non-agenda item. And seeing none, and another staff member, Ben Tribble, just came for the record. Thank you. Welcome. Thanks, Kristen, for putting up the slide. Just to remind everybody of the process. The HARC chair introduces the project. Staff gives the presentation, answers HARC's questions, then the applicant gives the presentation and answers HARC's questions, which we ask to be 30 minutes or less. The public is invited then to make comments, which we ask to be 3 minutes or less. And unfortunately, there's no dialogue between the public and the board or the applicant that's allowed by the rules of this meeting. And then the applicant may address and rebut any of those comments. And then the public comment ends and HARC deliberates and hopefully comes to a decision. So thanks for following the process. And if there's nothing else, I think we'll go ahead and start the first public hearing item.
We skipped staff announcements.
Oh, I asked and she said
Oh, I'm
there
sorry.
weren't any.
Goodness,
So-
I'm off my game.
You want to make one up? Okay. I know there's lots going on. Staff is very busy and so thank them for all their hard work. Okay, lot 2, Primrose, small scale new addition. It's consideration application for a small scale new construction outside the THLD, but within the HPOD and the residential zone district of principal structures on lots with a pre-construction grade or slope of the building site coverage of 25% or greater, regardless of floor area per land use code 7203B1A3. And it's a minor scale new construction outside the THLD, but within the HPOD in the residential zone district that will contain more than 950, but less than 2,500 square feet of floor area per the land use code 203B1B1. Legal description is lot 2 in the overlook at the Telluride ACC to subdivision replat, a large scale subdivision replat of portions of East Telluride Edition. The town of Telluride recorded 454-591-0830-2018. Address is to be determined. It's the Hillside Developing 2 District. Owners Ryan Casino and Ria DePuchter. Applicant McAllister Architects and staff member Kristen Coldier.
Thank you, Mark. So first, before every HARC meeting, at the very beginning of the public hearings, we go over the standards for review by HARC. So the action by the decision-making body per the land use code is after hearing evidence and considering the comments of all persons interested in a matter, the reviewing body shall render a decision accompanied by any necessary findings and have them entered in its minutes. In its findings, the reviewing body should report the facts found and its conclusions and whether the development application is approved with conditions, recommended for approval by another body, tabled or continued pending receipt of additional information, or denied. The reviewing body shall not be required to take final action on the development application during the same meeting at which evidence or testimony from interested persons has been taken, and may continue the matter in accordance with the limitations set forth in section 5205C. Thank you. So now we have Primrose Lane Lot 2, small scale new construction. Mark read the overview of the project, and this project is reviewed per the 2024 design guidelines and standards. The existing land use is vacant. It's in the Hillside Developing 2 Zone District. It is in an area with slopes greater than 25% and in Rock Fall Zone A. And it's in the Developing Hillside Treatment Area. It's outside of the THLD, and there are no existing historic structures on the property nor in the immediate vicinity. The project is proposing new construction of a single-family residence. So as I mentioned, the slopes are steep, and this particular lot is part of the Overlook Planned Unit Development. And per this PUD, Lot 2 is a designated workforce housing unit, subject to a workforce housing unit deed restriction. As you all know, the overall precepts of the design guidelines are keep it simple, keep it in scale, respect historic resources, and make all new design compatible with the existing context. This project is reviewed under the developing hillside, steep lots, and exterior site lighting standards. So many aspects of the project were compliant with the design guidelines. I am not going to go over those aspects of the project here. I am only going to focus on those aspects that are not compliant with the design guidelines, so that you can consider those aspects and determine how to move forward. So DH3, on-site hazards. This pertains to incorporating on-site hazard mitigation for specific site conditions. And for this one, the applicant will be asked to provide a geohazard report, including a plan for on-site hazard mitigation due to the lot being in rockfall zone A with slopes greater than 25% for review by planning staff. And the report will demonstrate what it's required to demonstrate, which is whether the existing rockfall fence at the north end of the lot is sufficient or whether additional protection is needed for the structure proposed. And this is per language in the PUD. This can be addressed in detail post-HARC and prior to building permit issuance, but because it's in the design guidelines, I state that here. So planning staff will follow up with the applicant on that component prior to moving into a building permit process. This is what we're looking at. Again, steep slopes. DH number 16 is mass, scale, and form. I'm not going to read the design guidelines, but I will share staff's observations. The building form, as proposed, reinforces the perception of the natural topography. It steps back into the hillside at each level, thereby reducing the massing. That said, the use of stone for the entire lower garage level could be modified to a more refined material or semi-transparent railing along the top of the lower parapet to reduce the perceived massing. At the second level, the solid parapet also adds to the massing, and a similar approach could be taken. The third level could be lowered slightly in height to minimize visual impacts. And I'm going to be sharing conditions at the end of this as part of the proposed motion. So continuing on with DH number 16, still mass, scale, and form. Here are a few more points. The large prominent stone chimney also adds to the massing. A smaller size, a shift further to the north, and or a more refined exterior material would reduce the perceived massing. The roof line with skylights, the sluice that runs along the west of the building and follows the slope, adds to the massing. This element of the project does not step back into the hillside. Potential solutions that the applicant could consider include stepping this element back to match the stepping of the main building forms, to better integrate this element into the project in the hillside, and potentially lowering it below grade. So this is not found by staff to be compliant with the design guidelines. DH number 20, architectural details. The elements of the design guidelines that apply are listed in green. In this case, the ornate chimney cover is not appropriate and further adds to the perception of the chimney being out of scale. So it's not compliant with the design guidelines. DH number 21, pattern of building materials. The wood siding on the second floor as shown appears to not be stained or painted. The applicant should confirm whether the intention is to paint stain. The applicant did confirm compliance with the design guidelines, so this one is actually all set now. DH number 21, building materials. Again, while stone is an appropriate material at a lower level in limited applications, the stone enveloping the entire lower level makes the garage appear more massive than is necessary. So the applicant also needs to confirm that the metal roofing will have a matte finish. So not compliant with the design guidelines and or needs additional information for that second item to confirm. DH number 23, windows. So this is perhaps, along with mass and scale, another sort of priority for HARC to think through. Nearly the entire front south facade of the third level and most of the second level is windows. Glazing must be significantly reduced on the south facade overall. There's also a significant amount of glazing that needs reduction on the east facade, levels 2 and 3. In addition, the skylights along the low west roofline sluice should be revised to minimize visibility per the design guidelines. And no further analysis will be provided at this time. Once a a revised set of drawings is submitted, they will be reviewed in depth for compliance with the design guidelines. And so you can see that here. And just a few more, DH number 26, snow shedding. Snow guards breaks need to be added to the western portion of the roof. Because it's a metal roof with less than a 5-foot setback. The applicant also needs to provide a plan for how snow will be stored on site or an alternative approach for review, understanding the challenges of this site in its steep slopes. So now I'm in the steep slopes guidelines, which also includes a mass scale and form set of standards and guidelines here. And for this one, mass scale and form, the same items previously discussed pertaining to those topics also apply here. So any condition, this would also support any condition to do with mass scale and form. Roof form, again, metal roofs comes up in the steep slopes guidelines. So again, metal roofs shall have matte finishes to minimize glare. Same items previously discussed also apply here. And this needs to be confirmed with the applicant. And finally, the exterior lighting, interior lighting, and site lighting standards section of the guidelines applies. And staff would be looking for a detailed lighting plan for review once the project has been revised to respond to the other conditions just reviewed and other topics just reviewed. So reductions in glazing as outlined will bring the project closer into compliance with the design guidelines and would impact the lighting as well as other aspects that are asked to be revised. So once it's submitted, we will review and TBD on compliance with the design guidelines. So that was the high-speed version of just the design guidelines that that are not where the applicant is not compliant with this project. All the rest, they were compliant. As you know, Public Works Planning and Building staff have identified items that will need resolution prior to building permit issuance. These items should not impede the HARC review process. Public Works Planning and Building staff will ensure that these items are addressed at the appropriate time, including permanent drainage of site runoff with a specified retention infiltration capacity on site based on final plans, detailed utility plans, confirmation of adequate on-site snow storage, rockfall mitigation plan, etc. So staff finding is and recommendation. Again, project situated on a challenging steep site, project consistent with many of the design guidelines, massing, glazing, materiality, and light spill still need to be addressed. And staff recommends a continuance to give the applicant time to address the following conditions. I proposed a motion. You can see it there, which includes these conditions. I won't read through them because I know you will discuss them after the applicant has had a chance to present. So now I pass it on to the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Professor Kristen? Okay, if you'd read your name in the record and share your screen, we'll get started.
Do I have to do it again?
Yep, you just need to share it again.
Thank you, board, for seeing us tonight. My name is Michael McAllister. I'm the architect working
Look closer, please.
with Ryan and Rhea and Harper on their home. As Kristen mentioned, this is a deed restricted local housing unit for the town. And so if you have any questions, we'll answer them. Don't make Harper cry. So I want to quickly take a look at the property with you guys. I know I have some photos in here. They are covered in snow. I apologize. We submitted this a while ago. But I think, you know, what you see is kind of what we all see up there, which is a vacant hillside with some construction. So I thought it might be prudent to look at the neighborhood for a second, just to give it some context. You know, typically we look at all the houses around it or we do streetscapes. And I think we can do something like that tonight because we do have some context to deal with. So we're looking at lot 2. You have reviewed and approved projects on lot 3, 6, 8, 12, and 18. Now these two are a little bit different. I'll show you them, but they're a little bit different because they're wider properties. But I thought we could just take a look at them. And then the other thing I thought might be helpful is to look at the original PUD for context. So I was helping with the original development team years ago, pre-COVID. So things changed a lot, but these sketches were sort of created to show the public, show HARC, P&Z, and council what the development might look like. Now, we weren't trying to do your job as HARC or staff's job. We already have land use code and planning review, but this was kind of what was thought of at the time based on public input. And what we sort of saw then was utilizing the south half of the lot for the project, a strong base material or element, and then stepping back significantly from the street and then having, you know, a 2.5-story home. And that was really thought of, or we kind of came up with that massing based on what we'd seen happening along North Galena and what we see there now, as well as what we thought might be an appropriate, a financially appropriate response to the cost of shoring versus development potential, et cetera. COVID happened, and I think the reality is housing pricing almost doubled in Telluride and across the country. And I think as a result, what we've seen is that extensive or expensive shoring of the property became less of a concern to clients. And so we've seen a much more development happen than what was anticipated. So it's neither here nor there, but I thought it was interesting from a big picture standpoint. So this is a quick snapshot. These are just elevations that came from the town site archives. I just wanted to pull what they had there. So I didn't reach out to anyone. I just pulled them from the archives, put them into scale. Obviously things are out of context because the front elevation on a hillside is inappropriate, but I thought it was interesting to see. We're looking at a project probably more similar to what was anticipated before because it is a local housing project. It has a different financial setup. We need to be reasonable, the client. But what we see, so we have exactly what I kind of explained is a 1-story mass and then a 2.5-story building set back above. Lot 3 is a 5-story home climbing up the hillside, 5.5 probably. Similar situation when you get up to the hill, you end up with sort of this half level trying to keep up with the lot. Lot 6 is 4 to 4.5 story. 8 4 stories, and then 12, again, a 4-story home. Looking at how those projects approach the site, this is our neighbor. For context, it is a concrete board form and plate steel first floor element, a large setback, and then a fairly vertical for the 4 floors behind. Lot 6 took a different approach with a large stone base element similar to what we're looking at, a setback, and then rather than 1 story that kind of went up almost to a 1.5 floors maybe, a tall floor there. So in many ways, this house will probably look smaller than Lot 3 because they put their mass forward. So we see that piece, but we probably don't see all these other floors as much. Perhaps we'll see. Lot 8 took an approach more similar to Lot 3. Again, plate steel and board form concrete base material, and a more vertical 4 stories coming out of the ground. Lot 12, again, this is it's down the street, they're wider lots, so things change a little bit. It's less vertical in appearance, but again, stone and plate steel element, and then 3 stories above that, so 4-story home. And lot 16, which you don't really see from the street. Would be seen more from the street below, so probably less relevant today. But I thought it was interesting just to kind of see what the context might be, because it's hard when we go up there and look at a vacant lot. So like I said, for Rhea, Ryan, and Harper, we are looking at a more modest approach, simpler forms, I think, and trying to keep things a little bit more compact. and a little less shoring up the hillside. But we did in many ways follow some of what other applicants have done. And I think what we've seen in other parts of Telluride that have been successful with a strong base material, setbacks up the hill, stepping with the site, and then keeping those forms clean and simple. This is a site plan looking at our use of using the front of the lot primarily. I'll kind of slide through these, but to look at the floor plan on the lower floor, we're looking at 2 parking spaces inside, 2 out. On the second floor, we're using this as the bedroom level. Sorry, I should have mentioned on the main floor, the entry and a guest suite here for family and friends. Second floor is a bedroom floor, setback 12 feet from the first. And then going up, we have a living room floor setback 15 feet from there. Obviously, we don't have a site, so there's no yard. So the front decks become the yard space. And then as we climb out of the site, you can see we're pretty well buried on the west and north elevations. So the light that we have and views are south and maybe the half of the east side of the lot, which is why we've got more glazing there. And I think why other properties have also had that response. And so that's how the massing kind of lays out. So in elevation, again, like I said, we're pretty well buried on the side. This is that roof form that we were talking about earlier. Just for context, it's about 1 foot to 2 feet, 2.5 feet coming out of the ground. My thought is that once it's landscaped, you're not really going to see this form very much. It's going to lay into the hillside. But we can talk about the conditions in a minute. And then looking at the site, at the elevation in context with each other, these are the 2 lots next to each other. From a material standpoint, we're looking at very simple forms, and we'll get into the conditions with adding detail if you like, but it's a stone base material. And then as you go into the entry opening, we're using a warmer stained wood siding in there, and I have a blow up of that to show you. The second floor is a wood siding that's stained, and I'll add that note for the condition until we get into where you start touching grade. And I was looking at using a black steel in that area that you won't see, but that will weather better and take less maintenance. And then the roofing material is non-reflective matte gray steel. Looking at those renderings up close a little bit, you can see into the garage area, that warmer wood material on the door and on the front entry. I think the stone will add some nice texture, and I think it is a refined material that's appropriate for this area. And then again, simple building forms going up the hill. So that brings us to our conditions. I know there's 11 here, and Kristen went through them, on the top level. I think really half of these are kind of done, so I can kind of hit those quickly. That they're probably just going to be some clarification things. So snow guards, yes, we like snow guards, and that can be part of our snow retention. Confirmation that the wood siding is stained. Yes, it is stained. Confirmation that metal will be matte. Yes, it will be. Detailed lighting plan. We have a lighting plan now, so I think that condition is just to update that. We would do that, of course. The rockfall mitigation has been done. It's pretty extensive for the PUD. If I understand the comment tonight, I think we're just in construction documents, we would just have to verify that after HARC. So I think that's a easy one. So I think we really only have these 6 conditions, and I just wanted to go through them quickly and then get your feedback on them. So the first one was to modify the first and second levels of the facade to reduce the perceived massing by using a transparent railing on top of the parapet or other ideas. I do think that the materials are appropriate with the stone and the wood. If HARC feels strongly that they would like to see us drop the height of those walls and add a railing, we could do that. We were actually looking at doing it, just simplifying that piece. That maybe having less of those little details would be less noise and calming to the project. But if it's something that HARC would like to see, I don't see an issue with adding that detail. The second one was to lower the height of the third floor to minimize the visual impact. I understand the comment. I would ask that you guys look at it within the context of the neighborhood and the approvals. One thing that's interesting is that lot 2 and 1, I know it's hard because you guys are designing or are reviewing a neighborhood that doesn't exist. So it's very hard, but maybe we're transitioning or there's an opportunity to transition back into the neighborhood as we go down this hill and curve in. We have another lot and then I think a couple that are owned by the town, right? Before you tie back into the town. So I think that our height is appropriate, but of course, we're interested in your comments on that. 3 and 6 are similar, so I'm happy to reduce the height of the chimney and shift things. That's not a problem. You can give me your feedback on that. The ornate chimney cover was not intended to be. I think likely that is because I didn't provide a good enough detail of it. The idea was just to screen. With these chimneys, I end up bringing up a lot of the mechanical system in there. So you end up with 3 or 4 pipes. Some of them are shiny, some are PVC. The idea is to just collect them in a black metal mesh to hide them. That's the intent. I think an additional detail will clarify that, but it's not intended to be ornate in any way. That was probably a lack of detailing on my part. Condition 4, it's a little bit trickier. This is the roof line. I understand that the words from the condition, but what's happening here is really we end up, this becomes a staircase to the building. It's dark, there's no natural light in there. So I'm trying to add skylights to get some light in there to that side. Obviously, I don't want to add height to this element because that adds to the volume of the project, which is what kind of controls development. So I don't think stepping this in some irregular way is going to have the effect that staff is asking for to calm it down or make it go away. I do think it's only a foot high. I think it's pretty minimal, but I'd like your feedback on that. I know the idea of burying it seems like an interesting idea. But in Harper's defense, she's the one that's going to have to fix it one day when it fails underground, and she may not want to. So I'd like your feedback on this one. I know it's something that's been done on other projects in this neighborhood, probably for very similar reasons that we presented it. And then the last condition was to significantly reduce the amount of glazing. I understand we will look at the glazing and come back. Again, I would like to ask that you review it in the context of the neighborhood and the glazing that has been approved by this board over the past year or so. I don't know the reasons why there's more, but these houses just don't have a lot because there's only a small amount of elevation showing exposed that isn't buried, and I think that's why people are asking for a bit more light. But of course, I understand the condition. Forward to your feedback. Thank you very much. And hopefully, did I get everything, Ryan?
I think so. Okay, questions for the applicant? Good job. And thanks for showing the context of the neighborhood before we were going to ask for it.
Oh, you're.
All right, well, if there's no questions, we'll hear from the public. Would any members of the public like to make a comment on this project? If you're out there electronically, please raise your hand. I'm looking, going once. Going twice. See no public comment. So are we ready for deliberations?
I'll start.
Good.
So I think this is a very simple project and it's very in scale. It's very fits into the hillside. I would actually strike 5 of these conditions. The only thing I'm concerned about is the glazing. And specifically on the 3rd level, mostly the south elevation. That's, I mean, pretty much that whole wall is it proposed to be glazing. So I think 50% of that needs to go away. And then the eastern elevation of the 3rd level also probably could lose half of that glazing. And other than that, I would approve this project.
You say strike 1 through 5?
I would strike 1 through 4 and I would strike number 6.
I have some comments on that. I agree. I would strike number 1. I don't think that would help any putting glass on there, and the massing of those elements are not that.
Yeah.
Thing. Condition 2, if the board felt it ideal to reduce the level, the 3rd floor level, I would consider reducing like the front 2/3 of it and keeping, there's a loft in the back, keeping that at the same height, because I think then you don't have issues with the building being too tall. If you, not being too tall, but it wouldn't change the height of the whole building at all. That would stay the same and just slightly reduce the height of the roof over the living room, the front part of the building, as an idea. I agree, job 3. I think we need to do something about the sloosh, if that's how you say that. I'm not sure what the answer is. 5 keeping and 6, well, let's see. Yeah, 3 and 6 eliminate. I don't have a problem with the chimney. I don't think that cap is ornate. It's simple.
Yeah.
And it does a function. And then everything else down below is fine.
Thank you. Lisa?
Okay. I think that Michael did a great job fitting this within the scale of the context of the future neighborhood. And thank you so much for this presentation and for the comparison as well. I would also strike condition, condition 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The schlues, perhaps one way you could potentially something to consider perhaps would be to break it and maybe have a slight appearance of retaining wall with vegetation. Would the board consider that?
Over top of it?
I mean, I know with
Here.
drainage that might be an issue perhaps, but that might be a visual break. And that visual line, continuous line, because I think it is fitting within, I mean, I don't know how else to reduce the mass of this. It's sloping with, with the topography. And that's kind of the one way to approach it.
Are you saying you'd have a slope and then maybe a flat spot and then slight rise and then another one?
Yeah, I would break it perhaps.
And landscape possibly that to
Mhm.
pick them up.
Yeah. Maybe. I'm not sure that's, I mean, I know we're not supposed to give solutions, but maybe that's one way to do it.
So keeping 4 actually, because
Maybe then keep four.
he can do it his own way,
Mhm.
but I
Yeah.
think you've given him a
But
possibly.
Bob, I think that the 3rd level keeping that simple roof line, it's helping the project. Breaking it and introducing a fourth, like a visual fourth level, it's not going to help mass and scale.
Do you think it should be lowered though?
No, I think it should stay the same.
It's 8 inches below the maximum height. And if you
Yeah.
compare it to all the other projects adjacent to it,
It's dwarfed.
it's dwarfed, yeah.
And what about the glazing, number 5? Did you keep that?
I don't mind the glazing. Maybe they can reduce it a little bit, but compared to the rest of the projects with the amount of glazing,
Mhm.
the way what we're looking at right now, and look at like how much smaller that house is,
It's different.
it's very difficult to
I would say though that the
Yeah.
third level, since it's all glass, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
Not supposed to talk, but I think it's all glass.
can't tell from here.
It looks like it's all glass.
Yeah. And
What I
maybe
can tell
reduce
from
it
the other-
somewhat.
So maybe reduce it a little bit.
Okay,
That's my.
So you're saying 1, these would be the ones gone. 1, 2,
You,
3, 4, or keep 4. and
I'm
maybe
open to
eliminate
discussion, open to discussion on 4 with the rest of the.
5, keep. 6,
delete.
delete. And
I
then
would-
7, 8, 9, 10,
5, I would not say significantly, I would say
just reduce.
reduce.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Stacy?
Good.
So next to condition 1, I wrote discuss. I do think that there's a 4.5 to 5 foot vertical stone plane, part of which is concealing structure, the lower 18 inches, let's say. And then the above that is a 36-inch guardrail, essentially. So there is a substantial amount of stone there, which is up high. I could see the upper portion of that, the guardrail part of that being something not stone. It doesn't need to be glass, but it could be a metal railing. It could be fairly solid too, because we do this every other project. We talk about transparency versus light spill, right? And so this is going to help with light spill lower down. In town, that was my only thing to really discuss with that. I don't mind stone being the material. I just think that being proud that way it is, that's the face that's most adjacent to Primrose Lane, that perhaps the amount of stone up high could be reduced. So I suppose I would keep that as a condition.
For both levels.
But I would probably reword it to modify the first and second levels. I don't think the second level needs to.
Yeah.
For me, it's the first level. To potentially perceive the reduced massing by utilizing
Semi-transparent
well, it doesn't need to be, I don't think we want it to be semi-transparent. I think we want to reduce light spill,
break.
but it doesn't need to be stone. It could be thinner. It doesn't need to be thick,
What words would
but
you?
that's just,
Just a rail with a,
but again, that's
Green
what,
below.
those are the points that I was going to have for discussion. If we decide that the stone's okay as a board, then the stone's okay. I don't know. I just wanted to have that discussion.
Can I interject now, or do you want to keep going?
Go ahead.
So looking at the stone, especially if you compare it to the two lots over, that seems quite a bit of stone. I think this is actually an appropriate balance of stone. The levels to me seem very balanced with their massing. And I think if the stone got thinner on the parapet or lower, it would feel like it's sort of the same thickness as the sides. And I'm a little worried that it feels more pasted on and not sort of this stone mass that's a part of the hillside. I guess is why I didn't see the need to reduce the height of that. Was my
Okay.
feeling.
And I always come to these meetings with an open mind, or at least I try.
So how do you feel now?
Well, no, I think that's fine. I do. You do see that the more transparent railing being utilized though in other projects to reduce the weight.
Yeah. This just feels balanced to me.
Yeah.
Stacy, may I add my 2 cents to this point? I thought about this too, about that ground floor with the stone, and I think that added mass on the floor helps with the balancing the project, as Matt said. and it helps with the perceived also mass of the roof. So overall, it helps the project. And if we lower it and add the railing, then the project feels a little bit not as grounded
So-
into the hillside.
So it sounds like we could keep one, maybe strike the word second level.
I would strike all of them.
No.
We'll just strike one.
Strike one completely.
Going on, moving on to 2, I wrote strike next to that one. I think the level
Okay.
is
I'm good.
appropriate.
I just threw that out there.
Especially since I do like the fact that they're utilizing a gable form.
Yeah.
It concentrates the height at the center of their lot and then it sheds down to the, mostly to the, to the east. I think that's, you can see how a lot of designers gravitated towards sloping sheds to stay under the volume, but in this case, I think it's good that it mixes a different vocabulary in. I was okay with condition 3. I do feel like the chimney itself it's a prominent element that could be reduced. I didn't mind it as a condition. 4, apparently I read completely differently than everyone else. I don't know how you get lower profile than paralleling the slope.
Yeah.
And additionally, the intro says, well, the A intro says reinforce the perception of the natural topography. Again, I don't know how you do that more than paralleling the natural topography. The thing I think that this does really well though, is it, and 4 says step down buildings at hillside edges. And I don't think that's what this does. We're stepping down the building at the lot edge,
It's more of
which
this,
is different.
I think, yeah.
But this now provides an additional setback and buffer to the neighbor. And so I think I like what it's doing in that regard. I don't see the need to put a vertical wall plane in the middle of it to break down the length of the slope. I just don't think.
I don't think you'll perceive it from anywhere.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
on
it
the
adds to
side.
Light pollution. I don't think you're gonna see it from the road walking up. You're not gonna see it from town.
Yeah,
And
I-
other projects have employed this strategy lately and it seems to work.
So there you go. I'm 100% on board with condition 5. The second level is
Third level.
third level minus frames is 100% glazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, frames. Okay,
And then
6.
the chimney cover, I mean, that's about as unornate.
So let's boil this down. I was okay with Matt's suggestion at first of deleting 1 through 6. But
I'm gonna keep number 5.
except, yeah, I'm good with number 5, except for as Elitsa suggested, just use the word reduce and add third level. And then I'm okay with deleting 4.
South third level.
Yeah, south third level,
South
and
and
then
east,
in the
okay.
east, yeah. And then reduce the chimney, Stacy's 4, take a straw poll. I mean, I'm surrounded by 4 architects. It didn't seem out of scale to me, but Stacy says reduce it a little bit, following the staff's, Kristen's recommendation.
I think it's appropriately scaled, especially
chimney?
for this project.
I don't have a problem with it.
Lisa,
Are we talking about condition number 3 or 4?
the size of the chimney.
No problem with it.
Okay, so we're gonna modify 1.
I said
No.
I thought we were gonna strike number 1.
Oh, completely.
It's
Okay,
right.
sorry. Okay. And we're gonna strike 2. We're gonna strike 3. We're gonna strike 4 by at least taking the straw poll. We're going to keep 5 and strike 6. So basically 5 is the only one that survives in addition to 7 through 11. Do I have that right for the straw poll?
I think for 4, it would be where it says and or lower this element below grade, cross that off.
I would strike 4 altogether.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Opinion, I
You're
think
right.
Stacy's
I'm back.
opinion.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
5's the only one that survives, and we're gonna change it to reduce. And then of 1 through 6, the rest of staff's recommendations.
Well, I'd have to get rid of the word
I wouldn't
significantly.
get rid of the word significantly.
Oh,
I mean, it's almost 100% glazing on this.
all right, well.
I could live with it.
Look,
Except
there's
for,
no-
except for the 2/3 light.
I mean, there's no wood frames. I think the applicant knows how to do this. There's nothing between the windows.
We'll keep it significant though.
I, no. There.
You live with it.
Oh, Are we edging towards approval
Or
then?
just like keep
I
it-
think so. I mean, what are we
Do
gonna
we
talk
wanna
about
be
next
more-
time?
Do we want to be more specific about the windows, or we just want to say keep significant?
If you use the word significantly, and I have to sign off on this, I think I know what you mean. If you say reduce, I think I know what you mean. So you tell me what you mean.
Significant. Leave it,
Okay.
I say.
I've-
20% significant.
What?
20%. Yeah, it goes all the way up under the ridge. It's like-
50% of that glazing.
Well,
And I'm usually pretty liberal on glazing,
I mean, I'm still looking at the context of the neighborhood and,
but it goes all the way down to the floor. I mean, it's past, it's
Yeah, and-
below the.
Well, it's a little hard to tell. The windows, those could be solid
But
panels.
they can reduce-
the 2/3 light.
These,
These,
yes, Michael, are they, is that glazing down to the floor?
No, it didn't go.
see, I think.
but
those-
there's height issues, there's width
Okay,
issues, the
okay.
framing in between the windows. There's ways to
But
do
this-
this. So I'm
I was
okay,
thinking
just
on
leave
the
it.
floor.
I'm okay to leave it.
Okay.
If that's what you want to. So basically, we've got number 5 as is. And the rest of 1 through 6 go away. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Who would like to make the motion, which I assume would be to approve?
That's easy. I can do that. We're
Right.
just, okay. I move to approve the small scale new construction at Primrose Lane, Lot 2, the overlook at the Telluride subdivision PUD East Edition Telluride based on the staff memo dated August 20th, 2025 with the following conditions: strike number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. The rest of the conditions as stated. Thank you, Stacy. This motion is based on evidence and testimony provided at a public hearing held on August 20th, 2025, with notice of such hearing provided as required by the Telluride Land Use Code. Revised plans incorporating the conditions of approval should be submitted within 60 days of this approval, or this approval becomes null and void. Unless otherwise indicated, the revised drawings submitted for a certificate of appropriateness must be a complete set with any changes of the drawings clouded and labeled. Any changes of the drawings beyond the conditions of approval may result in more than one submittal being required.
I will second.
Stacy, how do you vote?
Stacy, yes.
Matt, yes.
Mark, yes?
Bob, yes.
Yes.
Unanimous? Good luck.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I don't know if you're planning on spending the rest of the night here, but. All right, the next project is 557 West Colorado Rehab and Addition continuation from July 16th last month. It's consideration application for small scale repositioning of a designated THS primary structure inside the THLD 7203834 as repositioning of a THS primary section inside the HPOD per 7203B3B6, a minor scale alteration of a rated structure that does not increase its floor area inside the THLD per 7203A3C2 and inside the HPOD per 7203B3C2, and insubstantial scale alterations to a non-historic portions of a designated historic structure that do not increase the floor area within the THLD, but per 7203A3D6 and inside the HPOD per 7203B3D6, and an insubstantial scale insignificant alterations to a designated structure within the THLD per 7203A3D7A and B, and inside the HPOD per 7203B3 D7.A and B. Don't forget about B. It's lot 15, block 9, West Telluride at 557 West Colorado, Historic Residential District. Owners Robert and Leslie Hempfling, applicant Shift Architects, and staff member Darren Candelaria.
Alrighty, thank you, Mark. So this is for the consideration of a small scale application at 557 West Colorado. This will look familiar as the application was continued from the July 16th HARC meeting. 557 West Colorado is located in the Historic Residential Zone District and Treatment Area within the THLD. The project proposes raising the existing historic structure to allow for a basement and new foundation, a new 2-story addition with enclosed parking, re-roofing, window and door replacement, and the removal of the bay, non-historic window bay on the southern elevation. Previous condition number 1 from the July HARC meeting was to step the addition down to respect the existing historic structure. The roof of the proposed addition has been broken up into 2 parts. The division creates a step in height between the historic structure and the addition. Staff has modified this condition. Condition number 2 was to distinguish the addition from the historic structure with material changes or a jog and wall plane. There are several changes to the proposed siding materials. The addition proposes 8-inch vertical stained wood siding versus the horizontal wood siding of the historic structure. This helps to distinguish the second level addition over the historic portion of the primary structure. There is also a material change in the foundation materials. Proposed for the historic structure is a sandstone veneer foundation and corrugated metal for the addition. In addition to the material changes, jogs and wall planes on both the east and west elevations where the historic structure ends on the first level have been added. Staff finds that this condition has been met. Previous condition number 3 is to step back the garage of the new addition to maintain views of the sheds and the character of the alley. Photographs were provided and an aerial view of the existing alleyscape. No changes have been made to the proposed length of the addition. Historically, sheds and secondary structures are what line the alley, not the primary. This condition has been retained. Previous condition number 4 was to maintain the original form and wood material and restore original window openings on the southern facade. No further details have been provided in regards to the windows, particularly on the southern facade. This condition has been modified. Previous condition number 5 was to provide details and elevations of the proposed fence. This is no longer applicable as a new fence is no longer proposed. Condition number 6 was to provide a materials list. This condition has been met with the addition of a materials list on page A3.3. Condition number 7 was to add snow guards. This condition has been met. Number 8 was to ensure all doors are no more than 2/3 light. This condition has also been met. Number 9 is to void the previous minor scale HARC CA for the property for window and door replacement. This condition has been retained. Modified conditions. Number 1 is to revise the addition to be more compatible in height, stepping down to the historic structure per RE number 19B.4. This is a modification of the previous condition number 1. The new addition is not compatible in height to the historic main structure, as well as a second level is proposed to be placed on top of a portion of the historic structure. Number 2 is to provide a detailed restoration and rehabilitation plan with evidence of accurate repair and replacement of original features on the southern facade per RE number 5.C.1 and D.1. This is a modification of previous conditions numbers 4 and 10. After the proposed removal of the non-historical bay window on the southern facade, a new window is proposed. This facade is street-facing and historic. No evidence has been provided about what this facade looked like historically prior to the installation of the bay window. Staff recommendation. Staff has concerns over the incompatibility of the proposed addition to the historic structure. The incompatibility not only in size, as the proposed addition is taller than the historic structure, but also with the addition of the proposed second level over the portion of the historic main level. Additionally, further details are needed for a full rehabilitation plan, such as evidence and information on what the southern facade would have looked like historically prior to the addition of the bay window. Therefore, staff recommends continuing the application. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Darren. Very thorough. Questions?
I have a question, but see if you can answer. If not, maybe we can get Kristen to show us. So you said that you're building an addition of over the historic. Is it coming out farther or closer to the street than what is existing there that's non-historic? How do-
Sorry, is that mine? I'm gonna.
Well, it's a question to Darren,
Oh.
and then if she can't answer it, I'll.
You know, for sure, we can go to the applicant.
I want to make sure I understand
So
what you're asking.
There's the addition on top that's overlapping the historic,
Yes.
and they're tearing that off and then putting another addition in that place. Is it coming further to the street? Can you tell?
Or is
I-
it was?
I don't believe so, but Chris would probably
Okay.
be able to answer the
Okay.
question the
Look
best.
at A 4.1. And A 4.1 and A 4.2.
I know, but that's the basis of Matt's question is
Yeah.
I can't, there's,
A 4.1 shows the existing, but there's no way to relate that to the next page.
yeah, there's no
All right, well,
grid line or dimensions, and
okay,
just-
They had a grid line last time that made
Yeah.
sense.
We did.
Yes.
okay. Well, anyway, you're coming up. If there's no more questions, we'll go to.
Well, this could be an applicant question too, but is the proposed garage facade the same distance from the alley as the existing?
No.
It moves closer
Yes.
to the, okay.
looks like it's about 16 and a half feet.
Okay.
From what I can tell.
That's all I have.
All right, well, that's one of the conditions, so it's gonna come up and I know the applicant will address it, so. Is that it? So we'll hear from the applicant, go ahead and read your name in the record and share your screen and what you already have.
Shift Architects, can I share?
Yes, sorry.
Thanks. Look, I brought the computer this time. Awesome. Okay, so just to be clear, I'm gonna go, I put some pictures in the end of the presentation today. So this is what exists today.
Can you enlarge in that?
Nope.
Smaller.
Well, there must be a enlarge button if there's a smaller button, especially the center photo. I don't know if you can.
Should be able to fill the screen with it.
This will help. And I just think there's confusion. It's enlarged on my screen. I'm sorry. Anyway, this portion, right, you can see there's probably 3 or 4 little markups and additions on here. And this is where the historical house looks to have stopped. And there was a roof up here when they popped up these horrible dormers in order to get the stairs up. So we are here today because we weren't doing anything to the outside. We have a foundation that we cannot straighten the floor out because it's a historical foundation. So we need a new foundation. So our proposal is this historic, leaving this, getting rid of the dormers, and then adding on a new addition that exists today that also has dormers, but we were able to take them all off. And the 2 conditions that I think the rest of them were clear. I don't want to waste anybody's time, everything.
1 and 3.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
But 1, here's the front facade. During the demo, it was obvious where this header was because it breaks out from the wall plane of the historical house of the that it was only a single window. And I don't know if you walk by there, but this porch is useless since they added this on. So we thought we would remove this, and currently we place this size window into the living room, and we're happy to shrink that to give it a little bit more vertical emphasis on this little window here. And then this one, we took down just to a single double hung on the front from, this obviously wasn't historical and has been slammed in there. So, yeah, in this process, we kind of kept this whole thing, changed up the material, and then are just redoing really the back. the big concern on the garage.
Oh, before you go to the garage,
Yeah,
we'll just do this in sequence.
okay.
Would you put up 0.0 that we all have in front of us? Or you could put in a colored rendering, I don't care. But, okay, there you go. I remember at our meeting and the conditions, the conditions are correct. But I remember some dialogue. I think I had the dialogue.
Actually, it was you and Bob, and
Oh,
we had, this all is one plane.
yeah, no, I see the break.
Which actually what it is today without all those silly little dormers that were up there. And so I think it was Bob's request to offset these two and climb up versus.
So
Yeah.
it was, and I think that's helping. And my single question was, and you did lower the addition as we see it on the south facade there, that gable. And that's condition number one that Darren has to look ahead on height. And I realized I made notes, I got my notes from last time, it was 70 feet back. So sometimes we give some leniency, but
Yeah.
I remember some dialogue and I wrote down on here that it could be lowered 4 feet or so, but I must have asked about
4
the
feet.
sidewalls or something, but
No.
how much lower is it? That's all.
Well, so this barely fits the stairs on the way up. So this right here is at like 4.6 from the plate height of the historic.
Okay, so, 4 6.
Yeah.
So my question is though, the top of that first
This,
section of the gable is how much taller than the historic house? I mean, it looks lowered, but I don't know how much taller it is. That's my simple question, I think. What's taller is that gable? Because we had talked about maybe a 4-foot reduction, but
4 foot.
Yeah.
That would
Remember-
be-
forget the 4 feet. How much taller is it? That's what I really want.
Hold on.
It's right here.
Because if it was 30 feet back, we'd say, no, it can't be taller than the historic house.
6, 7 minus.
Well,
But
and this, this portion is somewhat existing and we're just trying to make this better. Our intention was not to come. So it is 14 inches taller or smaller than the upper.
1 foot 4.
I know, and
Yeah.
then
1 foot 4 3/4 from your drawing.
okay, but compared to the historic house, it's
it's 4 feet.
4 foot, okay,
Yes.
4 foot. And what was the last time? I mean, did we lower it?
Yes. Yeah, because we were all at that upper height there. So we
Okay.
lowered that.
Okay,
Mid-
Okay.
Center section,
The
slightly
center-
lower
Yeah.
to give that stepping going.
okay, and that's my,
So, I mean,
that's my only question on number one.
we went through and tried some new stair things. We could probably take another 6 inches out that and still have the stairs work.
Thank you.
Okay?
So while you're on that area, I
Uh-huh.
still didn't get my question answered because I couldn't see anything
Oh,
from that
sorry.
image. Has that wall plane where you're proposing to replace the non-historic addition, is that moved closer to the street or it's the same plane farther back?
This is the same plane.
Same plane?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and on to the garage?
Okay, onto the garage. We are currently sitting. We are. Play. Oh, I should go to the site plan, that'll be helpful. We are currently sitting, 15'7" from the property. We are able to still have a usable garage by moving it in 2 feet. And to be clear, that is only 1 story at that point, and then then reduces the deck, bringing the face of the house. This part right here, the second story, guys, I don't know why this doesn't like me here. Right here ends up being 26 feet from the alley. The second story.
Okay, and the 15.7 to the first story
That is where our garage is today.
today?
And
Existing.
we would like to move it in 2 feet, so it'll almost be 18 feet from the alley.
You're proposing to do that.
Yes.
it's shown
I
that
try
way.
to come with solutions.
Is it,
Bob.
it's shown that way, right? So it's on,
No, it's currently not, and
oh, okay.
we'll have that conversation
So what keep,
after the.
you would keep the,
So can you confirm, I kind of scaled about 16.5 feet is what the building is growing towards the alley? Not counting columns, face of building,
say that again?
plus or minus. It
Yeah,
seems
I.
16-ish
yeah,
feet.
ish,
Okay.
Yeah, but there's,
This way.
It's going,
And-
growing towards the alley about 16 feet or so.
But the garage is where it was, except for now she's proposing to
No,
take
it's
it back
moved
2
further
feet.
back to the alley. Originally, the back of the house was how far?
the back of the garage, which is only one level, was 15'7", and now we're moving it to almost 18 feet back from the alley. So there's a
Yeah,
entire full parking space.
If we look at your drawings, though, it looks like it's,
No, it's not.
Significant.
I'm saying that with that
You would do
condition,
it.
that's what I would like to
On number one,
propose
yeah.
as our condition to move
okay,
it.
so it'd be
2 feet.
2 foot or almost 3 foot further back than shown on what we have in front of us.
That's correct.
And do you have that photo that we asked about last time of context of the neighborhood? I guess this is the
Well,
one.
here's a couple, I know we don't do precedent. I was on this board. There's a lot of mistakes made, but this is a primary residence that 2 doors up from us, 2 doors east. And that is 13 feet from the alley, the garage door. This one here is 10 feet, and this one, even though it's a secondary structure, it's new construction, it's 2 levels on the alley with no breakup.
And it's only 10 feet?
This one is
Off the
only
alley?
10 feet. So we will be 18 feet, and which is exactly what we did at the Perpar residence.
Okay, imagine that. Other,
Anything else you want to say?
No, I think that's it. And we're only doing a 6-inch lift that, after doing a study on the front elevation, gets a little ridiculous with our neighbors. Just help, we have a, almost a 2-foot dip in the back to the back door from the alley.
I know you, the whole inside's been gutted, right? I mean,
Mhm.
so did you find on the south facade, did you find the original opening for the window?
No,
Or
so
evidence
they
of
took
it?
it out, but there was a header there. So
It's,
the header's on the plane of the historical house,
mhm,
and then they built the bay window, so.
okay. So the,
And we just, and we're happy to reduce this and make it a bit, feel a bit more vertical. I mean.
okay,
need
we can talk
light.
about that. Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
other questions?
No,
Okay, we'll hear from the public. Would anybody like to come up and comment on this project? Electronically, if you'd like to raise your hand. Okay. Then we'll go to deliberations, and it seems like 2, 4, and 5 were relatively administrative and needed, and 1 and 3 were talking points. So who wants to go first?
I'll go. I believe she stepped down the addition from what we saw last time. So we have that middle level in there. I don't know if it needs to be stepped down anymore. I've walked around this site like 4 times in the last 2 weeks, and on the street and from the street, even on the sidewalk right in front of the house and on the sidewalk across the street, you can't see the addition. You see those little bays, but that's it. You don't see it at all. So I don't really see a need to step it down anymore. Restoration plan, yes. Walking through the alley, you had a couple pictures there, but that I've walked through that alley, I don't like to say 4 times and recently, and there's a hodgepodge of everything. There are buildings with garages that are 2 or 3 or 5 feet away from the alley. All over the place. The shed, I guess that's the big gray shed that's to the west of you they're talking about, is surrounded mostly by a big high fence. You can barely see it. You can see it if you're in the alley looking across right now because the house is further to the south. But it doesn't seem to me that any other property on that alley has taken that into account. They did what they wanted to do and what they needed to do and what was approvable. I don't see an issue with the garage. I think you're gonna move it back 2 more feet, great. The windows, yes. And 5 is no big deal. And you've talked about the bay window, and I think that's, it's appropriate. If the header is still there and it doesn't look like it's been chopped, that's the size of the window was before. And, if it's got mullions down the middle, if you can find the historic photographs, I've looked in the HGS book. And I couldn't find a close-up enough one to see what's on that porch. I don't know if there may be, somebody might have a photograph of it, but I couldn't find it in the book. So,
Okay.
I would eliminate 3 and I'd prove it.
Okay. Who else?
Sounds like you would eliminate 1 and 3.
Oh, yes. Yes, sorry.
I agree with everything Bob just said.
Well, what about 3 though? Changing it to say, setback garage another 2 foot as they offered to do. A minimum of another 2 foot for those alley standard or per the HR standards and the alley standard. I mean, it seems like we should.
Well, then we got it recorded. Step back the garage 2 more feet.
Yeah.
I didn't have any problem with the garage as proposed. I
Yeah.
think it's a small scale and there's plenty of distance between it and the alley. Just because they're not separating the primary with a secondary form,
Mhm.
sort of as Bob alluded to, I'm fine with that.
So straw poll, you're fine with it. Where are you?
I am fine with the north facade of the garage staying with the existing north.
Don't
facade of
move
the
it 2
garage.
feet.
Don't move it 2 feet unless they want 2 feet for the parking space, then that's a difference.
It could be over with this next vote.
I'm fine either way. If you're offering another 2 feet, I think that's great. And you could still do it if you want, because it's not gonna change anything.
Well, I'm for 2 feet, but now you are the deciding vote.
I'm okay with where it is.
Okay. So we have. If you consider doing it, that'd be great, but this board is not making a vote.
You know what that?
I don't think she's gonna.
The word consider, I know what that means.
Okay.
Okay, so really, we're just dropping 1 and 3 and approving it as is. Okay, well, who wants to, wait a minute. Elitza,
Oh my God.
yeah,
Sign, by the way.
sorry.
She needs.
She does. It's over there.
over there.
Oh, you have Andrew in front of you.
Do I look like Andrew?
So much better looking than Andrew, but don't tell him I said that. Okay,
Is this on record?
would you honor us with making this motion?
Okay. I move to approve to the October,
No.
Just
no,
approve.
sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize for that. I move to approve the small scale application at 557 West Colorado Avenue based on the staff memo dated August 20th, 2025 with the following conditions. Number 1, omitted, or how do you say it?
Deleted.
Deleted. Number 2, as stated. Number 3, omitted. Number 4, as stated. Number 5, as stated. This motion is based on evidence and testimony provided at a public hearing held on August 20th, 2025, with notice of such hearing provided as required by the town Telluride Land Use Code. And motion, what was?
A second. I'll second.
You've gotta read the language.
Oh, yeah.
I did. Didn't you?
Revised plans incorporating the, no.
No.
Do I need to read that?
Please.
Yeah. course, revised plans incorporating the conditions of approval shall be submitted within 60 days of this approval, or this approval becomes null and void unless otherwise indicated. The revised drawings submitted for a certificate of appropriateness must be a completed set with any changes to the drawings clouded and labeled. Any changes to the drawings beyond the conditions of approval may result in more than one submittal being required.
I'll second that.
Second. Stacy?
Stacy, yes.
Matt, yes.
Mark, yes?
Bob, yes.
Elita, yes.
And
Excellent.
Can we take a 5-minute break
Okay,
or less?
4 minutes.
Oh, really?
Is in Brazil?
It's in Panama.
Oh, Panama.
It's in Panama.
Panama. It's going,
The
it's
river?
going deep some fishing.
Oh, good. Well, yeah. But we are reducing your.
Sign up. You don't need to sign up. Thank you.
So can we get an explanation of what this is supposed to mean here?
Well, it's the solution. It's a formalized solution, which we didn't have in our packet. It's the same story as that asterisk. The asterisk, isn't this as well? We can just reduce 29 feet because we're over. But that's showing how, I guess. I mean, she just handed it out.
It's actually showing an increase in their calculated square footage for both lots. And I don't know if this basement is the full footprint or if there's second or third level would count to this. This is just confusing.
Okay, we'll ask her. Yeah. 11:42. So.
Work out.
Okay.
Thank you, Piper. Our third public hearing item is lot 7 and 8, San Juan preliminary scale, large scale multifamily project continuation, May 21st and July 16th. Consideration of an application for large scale preliminary new construction outside the THLD that will contain more than 5,000 square foot. Per land use code, section 7203B2A1. It's lot 7, San Juan Village, PUD, block 20. Rest as written under that legal description. The address is to be determined. It's in its own district accommodations 2. The owner is the Langmaid Family Revocable Trust on lot 7 and the Laurel Diane Langmaid trustee of the Langmaid Laurel Living Trust, BT on lot 8. Applicant Berkowitz Design and staff member Kristen Collier.
Thank you, Mark. So yes, you have seen this project a couple of times before. There was a work session in December, and then the project had a public hearing on May 21st, which was continued to July 16th, which now comes before you today. So,
Kristen, before you give your presentation,
sure.
So there's an asterisk on here, and thank you for catching it. It was not land use code compliant
Yes.
before the meeting,
Yes.
but the handout shows how they could or would comply to get compliant,
Yes.
which just came.
Yes, so the applicant, planning staff worked with the applicant to rectify the slight disparity in land use code compliance.
Didn't get rectified, it's 29 feet over.
And the applicant is proposing a solution to that,
After-
which they will,
After.
after the packet was
Okay.
published, that is correct. But the applicant is going to put on the public record this evening their solution for that 29 square feet. And so
Right, so
that,
I need to ask a question though,
Sure.
Board, because I've never been for 10 years on a project that was 3 times not land use compliant, never. First time was a lot line issue, the second time was the site coverage, and now we have one on site coverage that's shown to be 29 feet over. However, they're coming tonight to show us a solution. Well, the first 2 times I was sympathetic as we went to our attorney, and I said, well, should we hear this? And everybody
Yes.
done all their homework, and we had read it, staff did the work. And that happened twice, and it was not land use compliant. We did not have to. Some people say we should not have heard this project. So I'm going to take a quick straw poll before we start this and say, should we hear this project?
I don't have a problem. It was identified in the staff memo that there was a discrepancy, which unfortunately was rectified just before the meeting, but to
Which
me,
the public never got to see.
understood.
it will be entered into the public record, of course,
Well,
as
after-
part of this public hearing.
But it might have affected their comment. I mean, I don't. Well, look, I'm going to go with the majority. So
Yes.
I don't think that we should see this project. I don't think that I've never heard of a project coming that's not been land use code compliant, that's been on the agenda. This is the 3rd time that's happened. And we just got handed this handout before the meeting. I don't understand how these numbers are going to add up. I don't have time to review it. I'm not going to sit here and try to review it during this meeting. I don't think it's fair to other applicants that we're reviewing a non-land use code compliant project.
thank you. Bob?
I agree with Matt.
I agree.
And I'm going to agree with Matt. So
So
Kristen, we would dismiss this, continue it without discussion, I guess would be.
now I'm going to seek input from council on this matter. There's a provision in the land use code where the director, my role, can make the determination to move forward with the HARC public hearing, irrespective of land use code compliance, pending the project coming into land use code compliance prior to, building permit issuance, prior to moving forward as a project.
Well, I speak, but last time I thought it was the chair's decision.
I don't believe that's the case. I believe it's mine. And I will say that the planning team worked with the applicant to rectify the 29 or 30 square feet
Yeah.
solution that you have been given and that the applicant is going to present as part of their presentation on the public record this evening.
Position of this board.
So I will,
We
I will
not hear it
defer to
because we just
Ally.
handed this. We don't have time to do the calculations, do the cross checks. And this is the 3rd time on what we have submitted and the public saw. It is not land use code compliant. This time they recognized they were 29 foot short and had an asterisk. But that's the position of the board. So do we have the right to continue this without discussion, Ally?
So let me understand what was just handed out. Is this what was correcting the deficiency from the
Yes.
last time? So they did not provide this until today, correcting the deficiency
They
from the last.
provided it subsequent to the packet being published. And so it can only come before the board now because the packet was already published at the time.
Okay.
Public never saw it. We don't have time to do those calculations and verify that, but
So the land use code, and this is section 5203A4. This is what I had brought up at the last meeting. And if the planning director determines that an application is incomplete, with the underlying zone district or with any other regulations of the land use code in an insubstantial manner, the planning director can assign the application to an agenda and have the applicant correct the deficiencies. So if the applicant has corrected the deficiencies, Kristen, do you believe they have corrected the deficiencies?
Yes,
And you have verified the information on here?
yes, it's been verified by planning staff.
Okay.
Absolutely, who worked closely with the applicant.
So with that, then the application should be heard tonight and should not be continued.
Board's opinions on record, but we respect what you're gonna tell us, but we don't appreciate getting information at the 11th hour, and I think everybody in this room would agree that the public never saw, we never saw, we don't have time to check the calculations. It's not fair to the other applicants. I agree with Matt's statement, and I want to reinforce that.
And I want to just remind
is
the
coming
HARC
in.
board that land use code compliance is not in the purview.
Yeah, as you said, you, in the spirit of openness and transparency, you don't even want to tell us whether it is or isn't.
That is-
You on record saying, so I
That
understand.
is not.
We'll
the
move
case.
forward.
In the memo, it said it was deficient by the square footage noted, and it has been rectified per the land use code.
All right, go ahead.
So that's just the land use code. That's where we are. So,
Go ahead, let's start the project.
sure, absolutely. So we are, thank you for the intro, Mark, previously. You know the project, you have seen this before. It's project proposing new construction of 5 dwelling units within the San Juan Village PUD. The lots are located outside of the Telluride Historic Landmark District on the north side of Colorado Ave, west of the Telluride of the Hotel Telluride, south of the Middle High School playing field in the Accommodations 2 Zone District, which allows for higher densities. It is directly north and adjacent to the pedestrian bike path. The lots are relatively flat and currently vacant, in a highly visible location at the gateway to the town and a part of the San Juan Village PUD. The San Juan Village PUD places additional restrictions on the lots while also allowing for some additional flexibility. For example, the PUD specifies a minimum and maximum number of dwelling units per lot. We know the overall precepts. We know that the accommodations, standards, and guidelines apply. As you know, the work session was in December. P&Z chair approved a minor subdivision in February, which was a minor lot line adjustment to provide the applicant with the lot configuration needed to design the project to be consistent with the design guidelines, while at the same time constructing at least the minimum required number of dwelling units per lot per the PUD. May 21st, you had a public hearing, continued it to July. July continued to this evening. So here we are. This is the project as it is now proposed per the revisions made to meet your prior conditions of July 16th. You had 3 conditions, and I will go through each one by one and describe how the applicant proposes to or has proposed to meet them. So your first condition was to add snow guards, brakes, or other devices to the roof that joins the center and east modules along the north and south edges of the roof to prevent snow and ice shedding onto adjacent properties and the bike pedestrian path per AC 35.1 and 2. The staff analysis is that a heated gutter and downspout were added to the roof section that joins the center and east modules along the north edge of the roof of the building on Lot 8. In combination with snow fences, all areas where pedestrians, bikers would be affected are now protected from snow and ice shedding, as well as neighboring properties. And while the south edge of the roof in this section was not modified, snow and ice shedding from this location will not affect adjacent properties nor pedestrians, bikers. So staff find that the intent of condition 1 has been met, and this aspect of the project substantially complies with the design guidelines as stated. So staff would suggest that condition 1 has been met.
I have a question, and then just we'll go one by one.
Sure.
So they moved it back 5 feet as we suggested, but then they added 5 feet back on a porch and deck. Now intrude right back to where they were.
I'm
So
not-
How do you say that that's met?
I'm not quite on that one. I was just merely on condition 1, which was the snow guards, brakes, or other devices that were added to the roof. So condition 1 is pertaining to the snow guards.
Oh, yeah, you were heading to condition 2, and
I wasn't quite there yet.
How
Yeah,
do you say that that's met when they went 5 feet back, but then they added 5 foot back a porch and deck?
I'm not quite there, but I'll
Sure
move
did.
on to that one.
Okay.
So here we are.
Appreciate if you'd answer that question.
Sure, yes. So condition 2, part 1, set back the entire, so it's 2 parts. This is a longer condition. Condition 2, Part 1 is to set back the entire mass of the southwest corner of Lot 7, Building D, an additional 5 feet per introduction paragraph 1 on the Colorado Corridor Sensitivity AC number 13, AC number 16, and AC number 16B. So for Lot 7 building, the main south wall of the building has been pushed back 5 feet in its entirety. This resulted in a corresponding reduction in the width of the southerly dormer and the removal of one window and the elimination of one window on the first floor on the west facade. The applicant has also taken additional steps to meet the first part of condition 2 to further create wall planes that step back. The cantilevered balcony was replaced with a full front porch, and a bay element was added to the front of the upper level facade. In combinations, these revisions per staff meet the first part of condition 2, and the applicant can go further into the revisions they've made, but I'm just showing this here. So staff would suggest that condition 2, part 1 has been met, but we can definitely have a discussion about that once the applicant presents, and you can determine whether you agree with that.
Well, I don't need
that.
to hear from that. I mean, just.
Otherwise, we
I'm
can
trying to
retain the
understand.
condition.
I commend you for putting in the language we wrote on here, 3 of us that were on the new design guidelines. And I commend you for putting it in here. It's a especially important area to ensure visual continuity from the west end of town to the historic core, especially sensitive area. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
But when it said the words are entire mass setback. And so they set back the wall plane 5 feet, and then they added porch and decking 5 feet right back. So it's right where it was. So how did they comply with moving the entire mass back? That's my only question.
I think that I will leave that to the applicant to
Well, I mean,
defend
you
their
wrote
their
it's met.
position.
You wrote it's met.
So the entire mass of the structure, in terms of the structure itself and the front facade has been moved back 5 feet, if that makes sense.
Okay, go ahead. with the
Okay.
Presentation.
So condition 2, part 2, and on the east unit B building, set back the second floor windows a minimum of 2 feet and add a shed roof to break up the mass and scale per AC number 23, A1, AC number 23, 1, 2, and 3. So the applicant did modify the south gable of the east unit of Lot 8, moving the main facade above the second story windows and the entire roof line back by 2 feet and inserting a shed form above the second floor. That said, I believe the intent of the HARC condition may have been slightly different. The condition could be retained with clarification provided to the applicant by the HARC board. Otherwise, in combination with the other revisions made to the project in the most recent round of revisions, staff finds that the previous proposal for the south facade of the east portion of the building on Lot 8, as shown on the previous drawings dated 7/3/25, also provides a desirable, simple form for the third building in the progression of stepping up from west to east. The building forms get narrower from west to east as they get taller and simpler. This fits well in the surrounding context. So I would suggest that based on other revisions made to comply with the other conditions of HARC, that condition 2, part 2 be removed. That would return us to the prior version of 7/3/25, which was a much simpler form. Or if the condition is retained by HARC, I believe the applicant may need to revise this element based on clarification of the condition by HARC, because I'm not sure that the condition was fully understood by the applicant. So I'm not sure if the resulting depiction is what you had intended. So I would say either way, but I do think a revision is needed in this instance,
Okay.
unless you like where the applicant landed in their interpretation. So this is what it looks like now. And then condition 3, eliminate the brick on the Lot 7 building on the rear gable facing Colorado per AC 30A1 and 4 and AC 31D. Staff analysis is that the south-facing back gable has been changed from brick to wood, vertical hardy board painted beige, to match the west facade of the northern portion of the Lot 7 building, better reflecting the hierarchy of materials and reducing the massing. And staff would suggest that condition 3 has been met as shown. And so these are the standard statements. The application is currently under preliminary large-scale review by HARC, which will be followed by final large-scale review. Pending project approval by HARC, building, planning, and public works. Staff have identified items that will need resolution prior to building permit issuance. These items should not impede the HARC review process. Building, planning, and public works staff will ensure that these items are addressed at the appropriate time, including final building plan compliance with the land use code and building code, including meeting all standards for buildings in flood zone AO, permanent drainage of site runoff with a specified retention infiltration capacity on site based on final plans, landscaping irrigation plan, detailed utilities plan, confirmation of adequate on-site snow storage based on final plans, proposed potential additional tree planting, landscaping between property line and bike path to provide further screening, subject to public works approval, etc. So those are next steps that come after HARC. Staff findings and recommendation. Lot 7 and 8 of the PUD are situated at the gateway of the town's historic district. For this reason, thoughtful development of these properties is especially important to ensure a visual continuity from the west edge of town to the historic core. The revised submittal addresses the conditions from the 7/16/25 HARC meeting in all but one instance. Staff finds that with the revisions made as shown on 7/30/25 plan set and a return to the prior proposed south facade for the easterly building form on lot 8, or further refinement of this aspect of the project to meet the prior condition with your clarification, the project is in substantial compliance with the design guidelines. So staff recommends approval with no conditions or approval with a condition that clarifies that prior condition. So there's a proposed motion with a couple of options for HARC to consider, and I'm sure the applicant would like to share with you the revisions they made in detail to meet your conditions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Kristen? Okay. The applicant would read their name in the record and share their screen. Welcome.
Ron Berkovitz Design. And let me just get the sharing thing in here. Right. Before I start the presentation, I just want to address the non-compliance issue that came up last Thursday. And it has to do, if you look on the upper right here, it has to do with a small section of the below grade space. So the net effect of this oversight was that it does not affect anything that's part of the purview of the board. That being said, I'm extremely apologetic. You know, if I were in Japan, I would probably do a Harry Carry on the thing, but you know, it's inexcusable. It's you know, it's like 0.001 whatever percentage on the one site coverage. It's an oversight. We didn't catch one of the cantilevers. So, you know, I'd really like to have, you know, a good hearing, a good discussion. If you don't want to approve it, that's great, but let's have a good discussion that's kind of even keeled and you know, above board, and a professional discussion be my preference here, and I hope the board concurs with that. So, and I completely understand the board's will to kind of thwart the project for that technicality, but I do appreciate.
So we're open-minded and transparent. Go ahead with your presentation.
Could I ask a question while you've got this up
Yeah.
here? So where you've circled it on lot 8A, you've moved that notch further in to reduce the square footage. Is that what you've done?
Yeah, it used to stick out, the lower level used to stick out beyond the upper level.
Okay. And then on unit D and E, what did you do?
There's nothing I needed to do. That was complete.
No, I mean, on I guess it's lot 7A.
Yeah, there was nothing I needed to do there.
But it shows a different number, if I remember correctly.
It does.
It does. You're showing
1142 versus what's shown
11.
on what we have in our documentation, what is shown as 1198. So we just got handed something that's different than what we've studied.
But it's reduced, and I just wonder where it is.
Okay. Can
Yeah,
you answer where it is? That's Bob's question.
It was, that may be a typo or something. That may have been I don't know, but you know, but it was thoroughly, is Ben here?
These continued mistakes cause us to lose confidence in the calculation.
Yeah,
that
I
we're
understand.
seeing.
Yeah. So, but it's already been vetted. And it was vetted by the staff that it's only this one side on this one side. So I think to, at this point in the meeting, to go into minutia is not necessary.
Okay, let's proceed with your presentation. Thanks for your introductory comment. Go ahead, Ron. You want to comment on the guidelines? I guess let's just zero in on the guidelines. The ones that, the conditions we had before and how you met them.
Right.
You can just go right through them. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, the conditions are very simple. We're very simple, very straightforward. And you know, I don't think we need to go through the entire history of the design and show the multiple views and that kind of thing. But that being said, I would like to, there was discussion about the gateway aspect of the project. Give me a second here. Right, so we did just kind of a series of shots of coming into town and really getting showing you a true perspective of what you do see coming into town and how much it affects the experience of coming in. So this is a sequence of okay, so you can see in the 2 slides here, this is with the trees. And the trees are shown in the exact location of where they are now. So those are trees that are staying. And then this is the view showing the building itself without the trees. Zoomed in view. So that's it. So wanted to show that. Condition 1, pretty straightforward, just adding snow fence to comply with the issue. I don't think there's anything controversial about that. You can see in the upper right hand the added snow fence that brings it into compliance. Okay, number 2. Okay, so I've already heard from Mark about his opinion about what we did on the main gable. And so I guess in that regard, as an architect, I get instructions from the board. You know, the board says, you know, entire mass. Does that mean that, okay, you have to literally take the existing design and not do anything to it? Or what can you do? I felt like the previous design was kind of top heavy. Let me show this to you. I thought the previous design, it did have a port, it had a deck. And I said, okay, instead of a deck that's kind of top heavy, let's turn that into a porch. That allows it to actually step back. So, so that's where the porch came from. There was a bay window previously below. And so when we moved back the whole mass, you know, frankly, to help out the mass and the stepping and to help out the, you know, the floor plan, man, we lost a lot of usability by pushing it back to way beyond the setback. So just, I mean, I hope I've made myself clear. There wasn't just a blatant disregard, and maybe I misinterpreted the instructions that you actually wanted to keep the front and not make any changes to it. But I took the liberty as a design architect to say, hey, I can make that even better.
Well, but just to put this to bed, as Bob said, and as he read back into the record, it was setting back that top gable area above the windows
No.
2 feet
You're talking about,
on lot 8.
you're talking about lot 7, right?
No, he skipped ahead of lot 8.
He's over on lot 8,
No,
which
I'm
was,
7.
He's talking about
oh,
7.
now you're back to 7. Okay.
No, I've this for the last 5 minutes, I've been talking about 7.
Go back to your previous photo shot.
You just showed a highlight of lot 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's what I'm,
sorry, this one-
you're talking about lot 8, and I just made a comment on lot 8.
Yeah, okay, understand.
It wasn't supposed to be the red one.
The lot 8 is highlighted here, but we're talking about the left-hand mass. So, and that's where I'm showing that there was previously a deck. And we changed the deck to a cantilever deck, from a cantilever deck to a structural deck that helps it step back. Previously, there was a bay down below. We got rid of that bay. We did a bay upstairs. So that once again, the main mass, the main gable, the big brick form moved back 5 feet. You know, is that the mass? Is that the entire mass? I'd say that's the entire mass.
Well, I
Maybe
think
the entire mass with,
the misunderstanding, if
Okay.
it were, was that we didn't say move the wall plane back 5 feet. We said move the entire mass back 5 feet.
Okay.
That includes anything in the
so that,
structure.
I mean, what you're saying implies.
Well, that's what we said. I'm not
Yeah,
arguing.
I mean, so then it comes back to, you know, at my discretion, I said, man, I can make that facade better and I can help it
Okay.
out here.
I don't
So
have any
I
questions.
I took the liberty to do that. And
Okay,
my
thank,
rationale is that the gable itself, the main gable form did move back 5 feet. And we had a deck and it changed to a porch. I mean, a deck, it was actually a deck with with supports in it, and then the lower bay window moved upstairs, so.
okay, thank you.
Anyway,
Go
let's
ahead.
move on to the next condition. So this, I mean, this shows, you know, in red and white and black and white, that's the line of the previous submittal, and then you can see our new line. Sorry. Okay, so the second part of the second condition had to do with the easterly form. And so previously the board directed directed me to move back the gable above the second floor windows. The minutes of the from the meeting actually said to move back the second floor windows. So I believe Kristen's memo is based on the incorrect interpretation of the minutes last time, and maybe Kristen can talk to that. But so I think I got it right. So this is the previous form. It was just a simple big gable form. And then, so what we did, you can see on this right side here, we pushed back the upper gable and beyond the main second floor windows. And then we did a shed form integrating the upper level.
And Ron, I couldn't
So-
tell with the dimensions, is that back 2 feet from where
Yeah,
it was last
that's
time?
Back 2 feet.
Okay, thank you.
So, and there's probably 3 other solutions for achieving that. And if there's something you want to direct me to do, we'd be glad to do it. So, the final condition, you can see it here. You can see it's the back part, the back form of the westerly lot 7 building. That was brick before, and we simply changed it to vertical siding. So anyway, that's the conditions, and the solutions are all pretty straightforward.
And one follow-up question, that currently the lot 7 is side setback is 5 feet versus the 10 feet of the land use code, right? It's 5 feet, not 10, right? Correct?
Yeah, but.
Okay, just clarifying.
Okay, but also to respond to that, it's set back at the rear and not at the front. The front is set back a full 10 feet.
The front corner,
Yeah.
the
front,
southwest
yeah,
corner.
Yeah, southwest corner.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So let's see. Anyway, I just, at the previous two hearings, discussion came up that kind of came out of left field. They were kind of new design objections that were raised, and I didn't feel like I had a chance to respond to those because of the format of the meeting. So if something else comes up in this meeting, I would request that you give me the floor to be able to respond to something new that comes up. Maybe there's nothing else that's going to come up, and maybe it doesn't matter because
Sure.
the massing
And we always, if we start
talking
talking about something you never had a chance to comment on, we always come back to the applicant in fairness. So it's okay. will.
Okay, thank you for doing that.
Okay.
And then sounds like Chris wants to mention something.
Hi, Chris Hawkins, Alpine Planning. I got pulled into this very late. I was hoping just to sit in the back and listen. But it got rather excited at the beginning, so I thought I should come up here.
Welcome.
Ron, thanks. So Ron explained what happened. It's below grade space. I get the compliance thing. We don't even get to notice until it's compliance. And so again, apologies for that. Hopefully the fact it was below grade, it's not visible. Everyone can get through that. It's also a two-step process with final review that will double check the plans and cross-check the numbers and make sure it's 100% compliant when it comes in. The one thing I did want to comment a little bit about was the setback from Colorado Avenue. I understand it's in the Colorado corridor. I looked at the accommodations treatment area, and it talks about a landscaping entry into the community when you look at the whole totality of it and you're coming in. And when you look at the big picture that's coming in, you've got the bus parcel that's open, you've got the recreational path, you've got a wide right of way and a really intense landscape buffer. So I think that standard's been met. Understand the mass and scale issues and the desire to increase the setback, which is measured to the building facade. And when you go to the positive open space requirements, there's actually a comment in the intro where it says, this is just getting into it. This may occur as a front or rear yard or as a court area. It may also be active, planned for human use, passive, or designed to be viewed as an amenity only. Lawns, gardens, courts, and plazas, as well as decks, porches, and balconies can enhance the function and appeal of open space. So adding a patio, adding a deck is considered positive open space. It's not adding mass. It's not in the setback. I know that's all subjective. I get it and respect that, but just wanted to provide that view. And then when you look at it from the perspective of the setbacks, which is AC 16, and the pattern along the block here, Hotel Telluride is in the forefront, a massive building. You see, and these buildings cascade and step down with the massing stepped up between the patios, porches, decks, sidewalks into there. So I think when you look at the totality of the project, it meets those broader open space and setback requirements, knowing it's subjective overall, but hopefully those changes of adding a deck or a patio, you still count that in accordance with the setback requirements and the open space.
Well, as we'll hear in the next case, and as we've been reminded by many people, including applicant attorneys, that actually the decks and porches don't necessarily count as open space. They may contribute to the feeling of it, but in a narrow sense, my belief is that it doesn't, but that doesn't matter. We're going to deliberate on it. And
Understood. It's subjective. I get it. I just want to point it out. So
Thank
thank you
you,
for
thank
letting
you.
me speak.
Thanks.
Yep.
Anything else, Ron?
Yeah, I just want to, if in preparing the westerly lot 7 facade, you really did want to just push the whole thing back and be done with it. If we can do that, okay, just request, you can request that as a condition, okay? It's doable. I don't mind going back to it. I was trying to do a solution that actually improved it, and that wasn't just a mindless solution. So
Understood.
Let's go. If you want to go back to that, I'm all in.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, questions? Any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I'm sorry, real quick. I think what Ron was saying is if there's new design considerations that weren't discussed, like as part of this, where we can actually talk about it, that would be good versus where it gets in your deliberations and new stuff gets up that you can't react to. And that's the tough part. So
No, that's
if
not
there's-
tough anymore. We started that 6 years ago and by
Okay.
encouragement that it's unfair to the applicant. So we don't do that.
Okay,
So let's hear from the public.
thank you.
Public comment or electronically, if you're out there, would you like to raise your hand? Okay,
Anybody on the?
nobody here to talk about this. Only one left. Okay. And again, as we public comment start deliberations, this is the last entry to town, whether we got it right across the street or not to be determined. This is the last time for any project at the entry. So we, as Kristen pointed out, it's got special sensitivity. We need to get it right. So who would like to comment on whether they met the prior conditions and or the proposed approval with no conditions?
I'll start.
Go ahead.
Just as a quick reminder, the last time around I dissented from the continuance vote. I thought it was approvable last time, just as a reminder. I do appreciate though that the applicant has stepped back the wall plane an additional 5 feet per the board's direction. With that said, I do feel like the addition of the planter and the vertical column as opposed to the bracket and the cantilever deck does serve to replicate the corner that really was the concern. So I think that the 5 foot move, while welcome, was diluted by the addition of that planter wall and post. And beyond, in addition to that, again, coming from, I would have approved this last time. I think the move that was made on lot, what is that, 8? The upper level facade, it's now, it appears to me to be overdone, over-designed, overthought, it's over. I preferred it the way it was before, the way it is to the left of it.
And if I could address that, if
Anyway, that's all I got.
Thank you.
I could address that, the intention was that at the floor line on, this is building 8A, at the floor line of the 3rd floor, it would step back 2 feet and that whole plane would be back 2 feet. The window and the plane of the wall is set back 2 feet. So it would be like the way it's showing now with the 2 foot setback roofs on either side of the window. The thought was that you're actually at the bottom of that. So the window was sitting on top of that piece that would go all the way across. I mean, I'm not supposed to design it, but that was the intention of the way we set it.
So it was at the bottom of the window at the floor line, 2 feet back. That's what we had suggested.
Yeah. But above, it said, at the setting back the 2 windows, and that was just the words, set back the wall above the 2nd floor windows was the actual text of the Mark's condition. Way you said it. I went back and checked.
Okay, well, we'll see how everybody feels about that. Stacy, thanks for commenting on both these. I mean, we really only have 2 issues left, I think here. Matt?
On the east building, I was fine with the design previously. This new design is not the direction I think anyone wants to see. So I'm happy to have Bob and Mark clarify their condition and support that, or I'm happy for the condition to go away. On the lot 5, southwest corner, I think our condition, our
Yep.
intention was completely ignored effectively, and I would reinstate condition number 2 so that this design is moved back another further 5 feet.
For a total of 10 feet from
For
the
a total
previous.
of 10 feet, which is what I had asked for in the previous meeting that I got voted down.
And leave the porch.
I think the porch is a good way to
softens-
start softening it up and break it, but I still feel it's too close to Colorado.
Like I said, we have one chance to get it right. This is so quick. I'm just gonna go right down the line. I agree with Matt. It should be the wall plane. If they're gonna go back 5 more feet, then they could leave this porch area to help soften it. So that's a total of 10 feet. And I'm willing to listen to, even though it was my condition, there's 4 architects surrounding me on the east building on what Bob and I at that time thought was at the floor line, they should go 2 foot back. I wanna, well, Stacy said, I forgot, Stacy, what did you say? Not necessarily, or I can't remember.
He said, go back to.
He was
what
fine with the
there
previous.
Oh, just go back to previous. And Matt, where do you?
I originally was, the
Oh.
last meeting, I said I was fine as is, but I voted with you guys for the setback. I'm fine to go either way.
Okay, so keep going down the line, Bob, and then Elisa.
Well, I think what you're saying makes sense on, that's lot 7. 7. Step it back. If they're gonna put the big porch on there, step it back.
And the condition as, the previous condition as written can
Yep.
stay, it's fine as is.
And I think we
Okay.
had discussed quite a bit about stepping that 3rd floor back on 8A. Just enough to give it a little more articulation, but it would be, the window may not be as big as it is, but the idea was that it would go all the way across below a window at the 3rd level,
So it'd be at the sill, is that what you're saying?
at the sill.
Okay.
Yeah. And it may not work because that's a big window, but I think,
I'd still like to.
but
see
you
it.
wouldn't have the bump out of the window. Is
Yeah.
what he's got there. And
Yeah.
I don't,
This is, I agree with Stacy, and this doesn't, well, it's not what we intended, and it doesn't help us.
Yeah.
But I'd still like to see it, what we said before, but we haven't seen it, so.
Yeah.
But
but I think we could put it in the condition. This is a preliminary, so we're gonna see it again anyway.
I know,
So I could go ahead and approve it with adding the first half of condition number 2 back in and modifying this condition so that it says what we said it was gonna be, set back the wall above the 2nd floor windows.
well, and this time I should let you make the motion. Because they didn't understand me.
Okay,
Okay.
what do you think?
I mean, support. I
were
wasn't here last
right.
time. I wasn't here last time and it's quite the deliberation. But it seems to me that it's overly designed. And compared to what it was presented before to now, it's. I'm in agreement with Matt, basically. And we Matt, yeah.
Okay, so on this 3rd floor issue, you mean? On the
On 8,
west.
On 8?
On 8?
Yes. Mhm.
So leave it, go back to where it was.
Go back to where it was and see further setback.
Oh, and look,
go back to what it should have said.
Yes.
Yes,
okay,
okay.
so
Yeah.
you agree with Bob, that's 3,
Yes.
okay. All right, then I have one other question. Cause I don't want to bring it up next time. On the maximum heights of the building, even they're 25 feet tall. But I know I was okay with this east building height of 29 feet, but how did we get there when the land use code asked for 25 feet and we went 29? On the east building, I'm just trying to remember, and this is what we're trying to set back. But I don't remember
It was the adjacency to the hotel. tower.
Hotel.
for the step down, okay.
Yeah.
So I think I'm good with that, and Chris had pointed it out too, he just came in, but so. Any other? I mean, I think we got 2 issues, right? 2 conditions.
Well, it's the same, it's condition number 2, now it's now condition number 1, completely.
Okay, but we better restate condition
Yes.
number 3, so we don't have the Mark Chamba miscommunication.
We're just gonna.
Seems like that's what it was. I don't know. I didn't think so.
No, we already did that. That's taking that brick off on the back half.
Oh, no, I meant the 3rd
Your-
floor on
Your
the.
condition.
on the
Yeah.
east building.
What-
It'd be at floor line to set it back 2 feet, not
Okay,
where they said. So 2 conditions. Leave 1 or number 2 as is, which will be number 1, and then the second condition.
2B. 1A is, 1A is,
Just
condition
for-
number 2 is now 1A and 1B.
Just break it up into condition 1 and 2.
Okay, I can do that. And
East
we're gonna
building.
say on the east building, set back the wall above the second floor windows.
Oh.
As we had stated it before.
No, I would just I would state it the way you want it for.
Yeah, just state
clarity
it the way you
for
want it.
Piper. Take some time if you want to.
Okay,
Don't worry about my old language, although it seems very similar to about what you're
how about
saying.
on the east unit building B, set back the wall above the second floor at the third floor line?
Through floor line.
That makes sense?
Makes sense to
Makes
me.
sense to me. Maybe we ask the applicant if it makes sense to them.
Well, there's only one third floor, so I mean, look, the third floor line is the third floor line. I don't think we have to get cute. I'm okay with what you just said.
Okay. Are we ready to make a motion then?
Are you?
I can do it if you want. If everybody else is ready. Okay. All right. I move to approve the preliminary large-scale new construction on lots 7 and 8, San Juan Village, based on the findings in the staff memo dated August 20th, 2025, with the following conditions. Condition number 1, set back the entire mass of the lot, entire mass of the southwest corner of lot 7, building D, an additional 5 feet from what they already did, additional 5 feet per introduction, paragraph 1 on the Colorado corridor sensitivity, AC number 13, AC number 16, AC number 16B. And number 2, on the east unit B building, set back the wall above at the third floor level. Excuse me, let me say that again.
The wall plane.
Yeah. Set back, okay, on the east unit building B, set back the wall above third floor line. A minimum of 2 feet and add a shed roof to break up the mass and scale per AC number 23A1, AC number 23-1, 2, and 3. We have to do this motion.
Yeah, to continue, but I have a
Oh,
question on continuing to when, since we're not,
no, we're not continuing. We approved it. They're coming back for preliminary.
to go to, because we can hear it again.
Okay, so then I've got to do this.
Yep.
The motion is based on evidence and testimony provided at a public hearing held on August 20th, 25, with notice of such hearing provided as required by the Telluride Land Use Code. Revised plans incorporating the conditions of approval shall be submitted within 60 days of this approval, or the approval becomes null and void. If otherwise indicated, the revised drawings submitted for a certificate of appropriateness must be complete set with any changes to the drawings clouded and labeled. Any change to the drawings beyond the conditions of approval may result in more than one submittal being required.
May I ask a point of clarification? If possible, I just want to make sure I'm clear in case the applicant asks me. For your first condition, are you still leaving open the door to the option of what your prior condition was that, which was them to set back the 5 feet and them just not to add that porch?
No,
We're
You no
saying
longer
no.
are allowing that.
This is a
Okay,
new condition, set back another 5 feet,
okay.
and keep the board.
keep the porch.
I just wanted clarification. In
That makes
case,
sense?
in case the applicant
I'll second.
asked.
Two make sense?
Yes.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay.
I'm happy that it's approved, but I vote no.
Matt, yes.
Mark, yes.
Bob, yes.
Elitza, yes.
Thank you. Unanimous. Thank you. Good luck. We'll see you at final. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Final project.
Mark, I'm recused due to an ongoing contractual relationship with Sante Architects.
Thank you and good night. Final project is the Stender Residence continuation, October 16th and December 18th, January 15th, March 19th, and July 16th. It's consideration of an application for a small scale new construction outside the THLD, but within the HPOD residential zone district that will contain will contain 2,500 square foot or more floor area per land use code 7203B1A1 and insubstantial scale new construction outside the THLD, but within the HPOD in the residential zone district will contain 950 square foot or less of floor area per land use code 7203B1C1. Legal descriptions, lot C, block 3, Hall's addition to town of Telluride at address to be determined in the residential zone district. It's at the top, owners are Tapa Aspen LLC, applicant Sante Architects, and staff member Christian Clothier. Kristen.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Let's see, let me just get this started. Okay, so Stender residence, small scale new construction, as Mark noted, this has been continued a number of times. A few of those continuances were continuances without discussion. But you have held multiple hearings on this project as well, so it will be familiar to you. Mark just read you the overview. I'm reminding you that the design guidelines and that apply are the 2015 edition, because this was brought forward before the updates to the design guidelines. We are in the residential zone district. The lot is vacant and slopes from north to south. You know the background for the project, so I won't get into the details. It's in the transitional hillside treatment area, not located within the THLD. You know the overall design guidelines. We talked about those earlier. And the following standards and guidelines apply: transitional hillside, alley shed and secondary structures, and exterior and site lighting. The conditions that are being addressed by the applicant are from January 15, 2025, because the two continuants subsequent to that were continuances without discussion. And so you, HARC, had 8 conditions on January 15th. And I'm going to go through each one and describe how the applicant has or has not met those conditions. First condition was reduce the amount of glazing and window clusters on the north elevation of the primary structure per TH number 27A. Staff analysis. Glazing on the north elevation has been reduced by a total of 56.8% as compared to the original design, from 100.02 square feet to 43.21 square feet. The glass to wall ratio has decreased from 18.6 glass to 8.0% glass, and the number of window clusters was reduced, and the vertical separation of window clusters within each group doubled in frequency, as you can see here. So staff would suggest that condition 1 has been met. Condition 2, revise the glazing. So the first 3 conditions relate to the glazing on the north, so it's going to sound very redundant, but I will read them. Condition 2 is revise the glazing on the north elevation to have a more traditional placement and grouping per TH number 27B1 and C. So as I mentioned, previous non-traditional windows have been substituted with double hung windows, resulting in a more traditional grouping and placement of windows as compared to the prior design. The windows now have a vertical emphasis. Staff would suggest that condition 2 has been met. Condition 3, reduce the large areas of glass on the north elevation of the primary structure and the bay window of the secondary structure per ES number 2B1. So as noted previously, amount of glass on the primary facade at the north elevation has been reduced by 56.8% from the original design. Large areas of glass reduced, windows now more traditional double hung windows. Applicant notes that following requests from neighboring parties, the secondary structure was completely redesigned and its bay window eliminated. We will talk about the redesigned secondary structure later in this presentation, but staff would suggest that condition 3 has been met. Condition 4, revise the alley structure to contain less glazing, especially on the bay window element per AS number 2C. And as I just noted, the secondary alley structure has been redesigned and the previous bay window element was eliminated. Staff would suggest that condition 4 has been met, although you will note that I will be mentioning a new condition later that applies to the redesign of that structure. Condition 5, further reduce the size of the deck to allow for more open space throughout the project per TH number 11A and eliminate the south extension of the deck past the south wall of the main structure. So staff analysis. The extension of the deck on the southern side has been eliminated. The deck now extends 6 inches short of the south wall of the main structure. The revised deck is approximately 425 square feet, a reduction of 157 square feet, 27% from the original deck area of 582 square feet. And the applicant notes the measurements include the main raised deck, stair to grade, hot tub, and bench. So while the applicant has reduced the size of the deck, as described, condition 5 was also intended to provide more open space throughout the project. Staff finds that a further reduction in the size of the deck to add additional open space between the two structures would be beneficial, and I circled the area where staff would suggest reducing the size of the deck to provide additional open space throughout the project, per this design guideline. So the condition was revised. Condition 6 is to replace the two sconces on the second level deck with step lights per ES number 1C7. Staff analysis is that the two sconces were replaced with step lights on the second level deck. Staff would suggest that condition 6 has been met. Condition 7, the south side setback shall be 5 feet per LUC 204C5B. Staff analysis, the project has been revised so that the primary structure's massing now meets the 5-foot south side setback. Staff would suggest that condition 7 has been met. And finally, condition 8, provide a step-down retaining wall in lieu of the wall under the deck on the north side of the deck to provide more open space per 8C and Land Use Code 3204C7, minimum yard between structures. And that was included in the condition. The staff analysis is the former wall under the deck's north side has been replaced with a step-down retaining wall. This retaining foundation wall has been removed from beneath the stairs, or the retaining foundation wall has been removed from beneath the stairs. In addition, the west exterior wall of the secondary structure shifted 9 feet to the east. This creates more open space between the primary and secondary structures. Staff would suggest that condition 8 has been met per the above, and the proposed new condition, again, the secondary structure was completely redesigned. And so in reviewing that per the design guidelines, staff would recommend eliminating the bay window on the secondary structure that projects towards the alley on the east facade, and to step the building down in scale towards the alley per AS number 1B5, AS number 2B5, and AS number 2C. And that's just showing that there. So note again that pending project approval by HARC Building Planning and Public Works, staff have identified items that will need resolution prior to building permit issuance. These items should not impede the HARC review process. Building Planning and Public Works staff will ensure that these items are addressed at the appropriate time, including final building plan compliance with the land use code and building code, including meeting all standards for buildings in flood zone AO, permanent drainage of site runoff with a specified retention infiltration capacity on site based on final plans, detailed utility plans, confirmation of adequate on-site snow storage based on final plans, etc. So staff findings and recommendations. The applicant made significant revisions to the proposal, which has made the applicant substantially comply with the design guidelines. The amount of glazing has been significantly reduced, and there's now more traditional placement and grouping of windows. The size of the deck has been reduced, and a step-down retaining wall has replaced the former wall under the deck's north side. The secondary structure has been completely redesigned in response to requests from neighbors. Staff recommend approval with 2 conditions that follow, and I will note the conditions in this case in the proposed motion. The approval would be conditioned on, per staff recommendation, further reduction in the size of the deck to allow for more open space throughout the project per TH number 11A, and condition 2, which is that new condition, to eliminate the bay window on the secondary structure that projects towards the alley on the east facade, and step the building down in scale towards the alley. And that's the staff memo.
Thank you, Kristen.
Sure.
4 quick questions. One, on this, on your condition number 2, you mentioned the bay window, and which you are correct, but in that or in that design guide, it mentions dormers and things like that, but I didn't see you say eliminate the dormer, just the bay window, and they have a dormer.
They
I'm
do.
looking at on A801.
Yep,
Right.
and staff
Did I have that?
Staff didn't recommend eliminating the dormer, but if that's something that,
I mean, the design guidelines, I think, mentioned dormers, bay windows.
yep, I can bring that up. Hang on one moment. But that is certainly something that can be discussed if you would like them
Yeah, but I mean,
to.
is there a reason that you didn't delete the dormer?
There, again,
Same language.
Yep,
Being that-
and we could certainly do that. Certainly, if that's your
I mean,
preference.
The dormer.
dormer, not the bay that's stuck on the end.
Well, she said the bay, but.
Yeah, that's
those-
one thing. This is another.
But this is a dormer and
I get it, I get
the guidelines speak to both, so it was just an oversight, I guess. But number 2, the retaining wall that connects the secondary structure to the primary, does that make it one primary residence for land use code calculations?
I thought they eliminated that.
Well, the retaining wall was stepped down, but I think it's still there connecting. So Kristen, my question is to you. Does that still,
If you look at, sorry for interrupting, but if you look at the floor plan on A100,
A100? Okay.
foundation wall, the concrete wall is broken and is not continuous between the two structures.
It's not connected. I see this by the stairway or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so technically there's a break. Okay, that answers the, and
Yep.
I think that answers the question.
Well, and to go further, we've had applicants argue that a retaining wall, a planter wall or other retaining wall somehow connects two structures together so they're both the
Doesn't count,
principal.
yeah.
We've said, no, it doesn't. So that door doesn't
Okay,
swing.
thank
I
you.
recall this one went down below grade, down to the basement area, all the way across, so I think you would consider the connection.
And then my last question is, the French porch does impinge 6 feet into the front setback. Is
That is land use code
something you
compliant.
approve of?
That is, and we're not getting into the land use code because that's outside the purview of HARC, but that is land use code compliant.
Well, but we're gonna get into the design guidelines and the average of the block, and so
Yes.
I was interested in your opinion.
Yes. In that instance, I went back and reviewed all of your prior discussions as a HARC board, and that is not something, are you pointing to a specific condition that you had in your prior conditions, Mark?
Well, I think many over my 10 years projects, we've had
Right.
porches that impinge too far out, and either for
Understood.
land use code or under the design guidelines, we
Yeah.
could know it should be the average of the block, including the porch, but not having the porch impinge further. So I was asking your professional opinion.
So I focused on your 8 conditions from the prior hearing on January
Okay.
15th. I did not go backwards on all of the work that you did to get your HARC board to that point, and clearly I'm
Okay.
taking over the project.
That's,
This is my first hearing on this project, and I was respectful of all the work that you've done to date and didn't go and reanalyze or reconsider things that you'd already made a
okay.
decision on
You were here
prior.
in January and December, weren't?
But I was not responsible as the
Oh,
reviewer for
okay.
this
Somebody- I
project.
can't remember who wrote it up. Doesn't matter.
So, yep. So
Okay.
this is my first public hearing on this
Okay, you
project.
answered my question. Thank
And
you.
again, I didn't bring up new
Okay,
conditions except for the new structure design.
okay. Does anybody else have questions? No? Okay, we'll hear from the applicant, and if you read your name in the record and share your screen, and here we go.
You're going to ask us about the public comment letters and whether we read them or not.
Oh, well,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
supposed to ask.
Okay.
Public comment letters.
We read the 2 letters? Yes.
We're not at public comment yet, but
No.
when we get
No,
there,
no, at the beginning, you're supposed to ask, did the board
Yes.
read both the public comment letters?
did you read both the public
The
comment
answer is
letters?
yes.
And I will say I read the first 16 pages of the 70.
I read all 70, but
Okay.
there was a lot of exhibits.
Well, and some of those went back to prior.
The second one had drawings in it of a garage and some other things.
Anyway, 79 pages was a lot to receive in a public comment letter.
Okay, well, we read them, so I guess
Great.
that's all we can say. Yes, we read them. Applicant, go ahead. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for hearing us. I am Peter Sante Architects, here with,
Nate Smith, legal counsel for the applicant.
our clients are, David Stender, who's here in person, and Amy Stender. We appreciate your patience. This has not been a fast process for us. I will try to be as, efficient, going through the 8 conditions from our last time, in front of the board, which was, January of this year, beginning of this year. And address similar to staff's, I think very thorough presentation on those 8 conditions, go through that on our end. So apologies if it's somewhat repetitive. Roughly half the conditions related to glazing, it's a couple related to open space, some lighting, and some other things we'll get into. Couple things that were brought up, that I would make sure I get to as well and have some discussion on relate to the dormer and the front porch based on these just questions here. So to begin with, here are your 8 conditions all bundled, and just starting here with 1, the graphic you see shows the red, the glazing shown in red was where we started, and the blue is where we were a few meetings later in January of this year. And I won't go into the minutia of all of the reductions, but they're substantial from where we started, and and I'll focus here on the yellow bolded work we've done. Glazing on the north elevation's primary facade was decreased by 54.3% compared to the original design. The vertical separation of window clusters within each group doubled in frequency. Additional reduction in glazing totaling 56.8 from the original was achieved by implementing smaller double hung windows. So this is a side by side. Again, the left image shows where we started and where we were in January. And on the right is the blue is more traditional double hung windows with a single hung over it instead of a single taller column. Condition 2 from January, revise the glazing on the north elevation to have a more traditional placement and grouping, TH27B, 1 and C. And you see this is what the elevation looked like that generated that condition. Here we are today. The previous non-traditional windows have been substituted with double hung windows, offering more traditional grouping and placement of glazing compared to the prior design. Additionally, the double hung windows positioning has been adjusted to indicate 2 levels rather than 3. Condition 3, reduce large areas of glass on the north elevation of the primary structure and the bay window of the secondary structure per ES 2B1. And again, this is from January. Saw it. This elevation is as proposed today. The amount of glazing on this primary facade of the north elevation has been reduced by 56.8% from the original design. Following requests from neighboring parties, secondary structure was redesigned using 51% less glass east and south elevations, and the bay window was revised. And that is, these are elevations of what you guys are accessory structure in January with the corner bay window, and notes here that reference the amount of glazing that was there that got that condition. Here we are today with those prior glazing areas overlaid for reference, and I'll read the following consideration of neighbor feedback. The secondary alley structure was redesigned using 51% less glazing at the east and south elevations. Those are the ones we see. The bay window element was revised, and you see it on the east elevation here. And I'll point out that the glazing, 45.2 square feet of glazing has been reduced to 15, just shy of 16 square feet of glazing, a pretty substantial reduction there. And I'll go on to condition 5. Reduce, this is condition 4, we'll circle back to. Further reduce the size of the deck to allow for more open space throughout the project for TH11A and eliminate the south extension of the deck past the south wall of the main structure. This is where we were in January, and you see highlighted in yellow the deck, hot tub, and raised, there's bench and other elements there that are listed within that, and that was a total of 582 square feet combined. Below here, I'll read, the deck currently comprises approximately 425 square feet, representing a reduction of about 27% or 157 square feet from its original area. These measurements include the main raised deck, stair to grade, hot tub, and bench. The extension of the southern side has been removed. That was as requested, with the deck now extending 6 inches before the south wall of the main structure. So it sets back from the south wall of the main structure. Zoom in on that, see that, but that's in your packets as well. Going on to condition 6 here. Replace the sconces on the second level deck. And I won't try and go into this too far. Those have been replaced with step lights. And that's what that graphic represents. Condition 7, south side setback shall be 5 feet per land use code 204 C5B. And this is where we were in January that generated that condition. We are here at a 5-foot setback. Primary structure's massing now meets this 5-foot south side setback with 6-inch step between volumes. The porch roof includes a hip, enhancing the southern neighbor's front porch view. This was a subtle adjustment in the roof that used to slope to the west towards Aspen Street, the front. It still does, but it has a hip on the southern corner and is reduced in that adjustment to the south, slightly lower profile. And it's worth noting here that the wall at the front porch has been brought in 2 feet, increasing setback measured there. Again, for as viewed from the south, that was not present in this particular design. Just to mention the last condition, which reads, provide a step down retaining wall in lieu of the wall under the deck on the north side of the deck to provide more open space per 8C and land use code 3-204C7, minimum yard between structures. So these were views from January, and what this north open space and deck and outdoor kitchen and steps and all that looked like. And this is a little more from the west looking to the east, as you can see. On here, I'm gonna read the yellow and then zoom in on these images. A step down retaining wall now replaces the former wall under the deck's north side. The retaining / foundation wall has been removed from beneath the stairs to the parking level, accommodating neighbor requests. The western exterior wall of the secondary structure shifted 9 feet east, creating more open space between the primary and the secondary structure. So in order here, this is from below the deck, the somewhat transparent, but the deck structure you can see kind of coming up above us and highlighted in yellow behind trash enclosure doors and I think partially exposed. But then there's a gap where this blue sort of airy twisty arrow is. That is a boulder, a gap between retaining walls, as just to clarify, this is to address this condition 8. You also see the wall step higher. It is retaining grade from the north still, but it is now 2 stepped walls and walls with a gap between them. They are not one wall. That's what that is to highlight. This is a little bit of a view from above from the north that shows the house at right, steps down to the open space that becomes a bench, and you can transition down to the taller stairs down to the driveway to the south, as well as access the carriage house or the space above the in the accessory structure we see here. And that's the view from above. We have worth noting that in increasing the gap or the separation between the primary and the accessory structure, there is now 18'8" measured east to west, the nearest portion of the house in the accessory structure, which is in excess in that measurement of a 16-foot or a 15-foot rather, that's mentioned, I believe, in some point of focus. That's shown in the drawing packet as well, and highlighted. I'll just zoom in on this. This is again similar northern view from today. This is probably useful in comparing to earlier slides. That might be confusing, I think. So these are all 8 conditions summarized here. I want to thank you. I feel like we had 8 conditions from our last hearing. Staff has provided us with 2. I feel like we can work with these 2 conditions and that would be, I think, manageable for us. I did want to touch on a couple things that the board mentioned or brought up to staff on the front porch. And I don't want to assume too much, but I believe our front setback, which is measured, my understanding, from the property line to the site coverage at the front, is not measured from the front of the porch, which is not a part of the basement. It's not an enclosed space. It's not site coverage, but the nearest wall of the house that is, what is measured, and that is, I don't know that that's in question, but I know that has been, maybe has been some confusion, related to that. I don't know that that's what your question was about.
Well, no, I asked that because I feel the board has made mistakes that we walk by later and the porches are impinging way out and, but my question is, well, you answered the question. Remind me of the rating of the original house.
There's no house on
There-
it.
there's- I mean, there's
It's a vacant
nothing-
lot.
there's nothing
not a
there.
Structure on it. There's a picnic table sitting up there.
But I know what I meant to ask you. I meant to ask you, what is the average of the block setbacks? I
This
don't
is a
know.
unique block. There is a protective setback agreement that was put on this and many of these other lots. That still exists that dictated building envelopes that are still present in surveys and in the drawings. And those, that was fairly unique, but those building envelopes, if I'm using the right terminology, I think were, in our understanding, describing where the house could be built or where the primary, it didn't define where accessory structure or structures could be built, but it was related to the principal residence location. And I believe those are at 15 feet from that envelope to the front property.
15 feet. Okay,
which
thanks.
is
And,
stated
and,
similar.
and what I meant to ask about ratings, are there no historic houses in the block?
There are at the very bottom, no, down on the corner.
On the corner,
There's-
yeah.
I don't know the color, but it used to be a
In the
pink,
south.
brightly pink or.
Right. Thanks.
That one I believe is contributing or supporting.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, go ahead. I just wanted to ask that question while you were on the topic, but
That house
we'll go by it.
interestingly doesn't face Aspen, it faces Galena, also that
Yeah.
historic house as far as a reference.
So the setback on both sides of the street is typically the 15 feet to the face of the building. Is that consistent?
There's not really another, well, this is a fairly unique street condition on Aspen.
Yeah, I know.
The road is, for all practical purposes, feels like Jugweeby Trail. You're walking up a steep
Yeah,
gravel. It doesn't have curbs. It doesn't have parking or anything like that where this house is.
it's right up near the top.
So the other side of the street, there is a home, but its door faces south more on, is that Dakota?
Yeah.
And then there's a more of a proper width, if you will, on Aspen, but it's below us. And I wouldn't say that the houses there are maybe all that typical. I think the Dakota subdivision does have some that may front Aspen, but there's open space and
Okay,
maybe
So
vacant lots there. I don't know.
the whatever you call it, the property, I guess you call it Dakota property.
Dakota.
This is part of that. Those houses that are part of that all have the 15-foot setback for the base of the building. It doesn't vary, my question.
I don't know. I don't know if it's the Boulder subdivision, but the properties on the west side of this block or the block below us on Aspen. I'm not an expert on or not that aware of. And
Mark asked the question about the average of the block.
right.
There is no average of the block because it varies a lot from
Yeah.
one area to another. It's not a
I think
typical.
our drawings.
we can move forward. I accept that, Peter.
Okay.
Okay. So-
Yeah. so
Anything
here,
else?
sorry,
Okay, keep going.
I will sort of mention the dormer, which was, I think, a question on the accessory structure. If That's appropriate. We can see it here, and this is a soft image, but you can see both the east and the south side of the accessory structure. And you see the bay with a window in it facing east towards the alley to the right, and you see the dormer. And I think staff's condition, I forget if it was one or two, related to the bay to the right. And Mark, you brought up the dormer being of concern and or also mentioned in the same.
Well, it's actually an AS4. It says feature set as bays, balconies, and dormers were not found on alley structures. And if they are used, locate them away from the alley as far as they can, so they're not really seen. And staff did not list policy 4 And I don't know how I'm going to ignore it.
No, and the way it's written, I looked it up. So the way it reads is features such as porches, bays, balconies, and dormers typically were not found on alley structures. If they are used, locate them away from the alley elevation.
That's just what I just read.
Right, to preserve the traditional alley appearance. I did review the new design of the alley structure per the 2015 design guidelines. And in reviewing it, I think the new structure proposed is much improved and from previous. And I felt that the dormer on this side, which was not on the alley elevation, I did not have concerns with it. I had significant concerns with that bay window that is facing the alley. There are instances, including photos in our design guidelines, that include dormers in that same alley section of the 2015 design guidelines, so it's not precluded, and it's even shown as an example of a rustic utilitarian shed. So while maybe not preferred, it is something that is possible. I felt that I wasn't concerned in this instance, but we certainly, HARC could decide to also eliminate the dormer in addition to the bay window.
Okay. But, thank you.
Sure.
So Peter, go ahead.
I
Is that everything?
don't know.
I guess we were in
Anything
questions. Yeah,
else to add? Yeah, questions of the applicant?
questions before we lose you.
No, I think we did.
Well, any other questions?
So the last time we were here, you guys asked us, one of your conditions from October to January or December, January, related to studying parking alternatives or exploring some parking stuff. And we had a discussion when we were last in front of you related to that. And we talked through the pros and cons, and I'm just going to mention that again because I think it has come up. What I didn't say in going through 1 through 8 was that a good amount of our time over the last months this year have been most notable in the redesign of the accessory structure here. And it was quite different, and the proportion of it changed. Its location on the lot changed. What we are still retaining a south driveway that allows us to get onto a flat we don't have guest parking or any parking in front. The parking under the house allows for an 8-foot high garage door. It allows us to have tandem 2 interior spaces there and have room for exterior parking or guest parking here, which doesn't exist in the front. So we cannot get an 8-foot garage door here under this. We could physically get it. This wall is on this east alley wall is, as it's designed here, it's 7 feet or even less from the alley. The transition in a steep alley to get into a garage with a 7-foot high garage door when you're coming from higher terrain that you're transitioning from and you can't adjust, it's just not ideal. It's not very accessory structure. And it's not very useful if this was in the accessory structure, which had been a prior comment. This garage or this accessory structure has widened some, but it has gotten closer to the alley, and that the grading steepness and the transitions from the alley grades, which we can't adjust, are not ideal.
Okay.
For parking.
Well, our opinions don't matter. But I did see on one of the letters a design that showed an 8-foot tall garage, which looked like you could get cars in it. But you're saying what you can't, they would fit, but they'd have to fly in because you can't access them from the alley is what you're saying, right?
You're coming in, the alley grades are your wheels are gonna be coming in on alley grades, which are not flat. They are quite steep. And you're coming in a short distance and you're into that 7-foot high garage door. And so your vehicle is going to be vertically challenged. And a 7-foot garage door is not what our client wants either. Wants an 8-foot garage door, wants to be able to park a couple cars inside as well and have room for parking.
Yeah, well, the only reason I asked the question is because the guidelines say if you can get a garage, use it. And you're saying it's just not viable on the turn to get in.
It's not.
Well, but there was an 8-foot door that would be.
If it was an
8-foot high garage door, you can get them in
No,
there.
we can't get an 8-foot garage door here and under this.
Okay.
What think the applicant letter that you might be referring to showed, I think, a 7-foot high garage door.
It did.
Okay, well,
We can get an 8-foot in the house.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And the only other thing, since this has gotten stone cold after 8 months, I don't know where everybody's been. But, and we don't want to really talk about or hear public comments on the PSA because we've been instructed just to deal with the guidelines, which is our purview. But I've tried to remember, in the name of simplicity, so forth, how we moved. And you've done a lot of work to comply here, and this is a very difficult lot. I get this. I think everybody on the board, but on A301, now we've moved that front gable to the side, and maybe we did it at the end of January, but again, now we're 8 months old. That's not a moment, a element of simplicity, as the guidelines suggest. It used to be centered, you've moved it over. Just remind me why we moved that over. I can't remember, I'll be honest.
Which one, which gable?
A301, the front gable facing the street, remember, it used to be in the center. And in the packet, he showed the red lines where it was. How did we move that to the left, which adds more of a look of complexity from the street than simplicity, which is what the guidelines ask for? How did it move left? I don't remember.
Yeah. So it, in the earlier described adjustment where the front door, deepening the front porch and bringing the front door wall 2 feet further to the, into the house.
Back, yeah.
That sort of reference there, we have pronounced a street facing gable. Previously, we had a centered gable, but it was all one wall, all one ground level. That above was a centered dormer. That this is more a 2-story gable that presents at the porch and at level 2, and it sits on the north side. Which, walking around, frankly, there's more of a historic majority of structures that have this street facing gable that sat on the uphill side of these homes. So it's not a unique application for an off-center gable in that regard, but one that's frankly more common with historic structures on steep hills.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions? Yeah, I really lament that we are missing 3 experienced members on such a challenging project, but we're going to go forward and do our best. But thank you for your presentation. And is there public comment? Again, we'd welcome it, but ask you to be 3 minutes or less. And if you have the same thing to say as the previous person, please just say you concur, and then we can move this forward. So who in the room would like to go first before we get to I think there's some people out there electronically, perhaps. Come on up, state your name in the record at the podium, and yes, Piper told me, and you're welcome to do so.
Be elevated. You are able to share your screen. Perfect. Let's make sure that works. Sometimes it takes a moment to click the ball. There we go. Great. How's that? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, a little closer, maybe.
You can also hold it if it's easier. How about now?
I can hear.
Okay,
Good.
we'll go with that then.
Even I can hear.
Get my timer going so I don't go over on you guys. All right, good evening. My name is Diana Crusoe Jenkins. I'm with the law firm of Ott and Johnson. Here on behalf of the neighboring property owners, my address is 950 17th Street, Denver, Colorado. Very quickly, I just wanted to address the porch discussion without referencing the PSA, which is a little bit tricky. But our understanding is that the porch location as proposed is still not consistent with the block. You could see attachment C of our very long comment letter where there's some reference and some background information on where that should be. So I'm sharing this excerpt from the application because I continue to grapple with staff's interpretation that the project complies with the code's requirement to provide that 15-foot yard area between primary and accessory buildings. So this requirement is a dimensional standard like setbacks, but it's unique in that it's not a setback. It's a spacing requirement instead, and it's supposed to be made up of yard area. So I flagged this as I'm really curious as to whether the exception for decks that appears to be occurring, in setbacks has then been misapplied potentially to this area. Because a yard spacing requirement is not a setback based on the code. The code requires a setback be between lot line and building. So I understand the purpose of this requirement is probably to ensure that primary and accessory building spacing remains genuinely separate and appearing as such and unobstructed by structures from the ground up. So a finding of compliance here just seems without reason, given the fact that the proposed deck and the significant fill that is being provided there each serve to create this land bridge between buildings. And that conflicts with what I would understand to be the purpose of that spacing requirement in the code. Further, just looking at this rendering, I mean, does this depict what you would consider to be a clearly separate set of space structures with yard area? Now, I understand the project has come before you multiple times, and there have been many conditions, starting with 19 in October and then another 8 in January. And staff has concluded that now those conditions are met and they've made some slight modifications this evening. But I ask that you really consider the level of compliance with the previously crafted conditions and sort of revisit those and be sure that they do comply as you saw they would. For example, does this project now provide open space and yard area as intended by the code and the guidelines? Does the alley structure truly not mimic the primary structure in form and materials? Does it maintain the town's historic alley character as much of the current alley does? Is there a clear single dominant gable on the front facade? And although you asked for an alternative parking design to be considered following the October hearing, which we heard a little bit about, we note that condition was dropped and it's unclear why.
I'm going to give you 30 seconds. You're out of time.
Perfect. Modification of this parking design element is quite material to the project adhering to the code and the design guidelines. So we're going to discuss that a little bit further. And as we presented, our consulting architect does not agree with what the applicant has discussed tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, who would like to go next?
My name. Oh, I'm sorry. No, you're fine. You can share it again. I apologize. No, no worries. Here we are. So my name is Richard Bartlett, and my family owns the home adjacent to the project on the south. I'd like to focus on the lack of open space that's characterized the project from the start. The project lacks open space because the opportunity to create it got sacrificed, create a long driveway covered by an oversized elevated deck. These features violate the applicable regulations, and I'm asking the commission to bring them into compliance and in the process create needed open space. With our neighbors, we retained a consulting architect to draw a conceptual site plan to show the interplay of the driveway, the deck, and open space. The top diagram, excerpted from the application, shows how placing the garage in the principal structure requires 450 square feet of driveway that then expands northward to cover all the space between the two structures. This design flatly contradicts the guidelines directive that if parking is located within a garage, minimize the size of the driveway. And even more to the point, another guideline states, in a residential context, the use of a detached garage located along the alley is especially encouraged. The project's refusal to comply with these guidelines has never been justified, and the effect on open space is extreme. The staff memo calls for creating open space by reducing the deck size, and a much smaller deck could alleviate some of the spacing violations described by Ms. Jenkins. But the benefit to open space from reducing the deck is less than imagined because what's below it is driveway. The code explicitly states the driveway can't qualify as open space, so exposing more of it doesn't solve the problem. The lower diagram illustrates what becomes possible by placing the parking in a detached garage along the alley as the guidelines direct. By eliminating the driveway, the plan creates space for 15 feet of true yard, unobstructed from the ground upward, and allows for a deck appropriately sized for the house. Without losing any interior square footage, the project would comply with the parking guidelines, the required spacing between structures, and create significant open space. By respecting the site's topography, the suggested solution has the added benefit of eliminating the fill being used to create a land bridge between the two structures. In closing, a compliant project is plainly achievable. So I ask the commission to reject a parking design that contradicts the guidelines and to require the applicant to place parking in the accessory structure, then separate the structures with a true yard that genuinely qualifies as open space. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Who would like to go next? Come on up.
Hi, I'm Bill Ford. Nice to meet all of you. My wife Lisa and I live at 460 North Aspen, and we also own 450 North Aspen. And we've been part of this community for 40 years, and we love it. And in that time, we've been very involved with the community. We opened the Telluride Angler. We built what's now the Mountain School. We developed Grayhead. We were very involved with the Valley Floor Preservation, and I was a founding member of the Telluride Foundation. So we love this community, and it's been great for us, and we're very thankful. In those 30 years that we've owned 460 North Aspen, we've welcomed lots of neighbors, both in the alley and on Aspen Street. And they've all been wonderful. They've been incredibly additive to the community. But all of their projects really respected the neighbors and also the feeling of both the alley and Aspen Street. Unfortunately, this project does neither. We would love to welcome the Stenders as new neighbors, but in doing so, we would like them to comply with what we believe are HARC regulations, and also I know you don't care much about it, but the PSA agreements that we have within our lots. So we do believe this is a doable project. As I said, we love to welcome the Stenders, but we would very much like this project to fit within the guidelines. In fact, Lisa and I looked at this lot several times, and we really imagined that a project that did comply with both of those would be a very tasteful and modest home. And we never imagined that something like this could be built there. Thank you very much. And my wife, Lisa, would like to say a few words, if that's okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Come on up.
I'm Lisa Ford. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to comment tonight. Mr. Stender's design will create actual adverse impacts on lots A and B, my family's 2 lots. We have consistently communicated to Mr. Stender and his representatives that we want him to respect the PSA and the land use code. Unfortunately, he continues to choose a design path that does not conform with either and will result in negative consequences to both our properties. In his most recent design iteration in front of you this evening, Mr. Stender has moved his accessory building even closer to our property, Lot B, which encroaches into platted easements. He has also removed critical open space, changing the natural topography by filling it in and connecting his 2 buildings with a driveway that almost reaches to the front yard and with an elevated, oversized deck, which needs to exit onto the fill area. His current design also continues to show the hot tub location pushed to the edge of his massive deck closer to Lot B. All of this results in the areas of active use on the deck to be elevated above the natural topography, which increases the negative impacts of unscreened noise, light, and activity onto Lot B. I'm hoping tonight that there can be some discussion around the fact that Mr. Stender has plenty of room on Lot C to minimize the negative effects on our Lot B. He could move the accessory structure away from Lot B towards the center of Lot C. He could also reduce the size of the deck. He could respect the natural topography by eliminating the import of substantial fill, and also position the hot tub in the center of his deck and away from his neighbors. I wonder why Mr. Stender would want to enter our small, quiet neighborhood community on top of North Aspen Street with a design that disrespects the neighboring properties, violates the code, and ruins the beautiful natural topography of the land. If you approve this project tonight, would you all be comfortable with setting a design precedent for all the lots on North Aspen and maybe elsewhere? I do hope you all have time to walk around these lots and see for yourself how the character and charm of Telluride is represented here at the trailhead of one of Telluride's most beloved hikes, Jed Weeby. I appreciate HARC's hard work on behalf of the community, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Who else in the audience? How about all those listening? If you'd like to raise your hand electronically, please do so now. Please raise your hand electronically if you'd like to comment on this project. Piper, I don't see anybody.
I don't see.
Okay. So we'll go on, and before we deliberate though, as I stated very clearly at the previous hearing, if we have questions or topics we're going to discuss that the applicant did not get a chance to comment on, we're going to bring the applicant back in. And so I have a question that I did not ask, but I know that I'm going to contemplate discussing it during deliberations. So I'm going to open up to the applicant, and then I'll have to allow any other final public comment on this topic. But Peter, on the drawing that one of the public members, well, let me do it this way. First of all, why don't you give any rebuttal or comments that you want on the public comments? And then if I still have a question after I hear your rebuttal, then I'll ask you the question and open it back up. So I'm sorry I didn't give you that chance. So if there's something you want to say, please do it now.
Sure, I can begin and then I'll hand it over to Peter briefly. There have been several points that have been discussed, so I'll kind of jump on a few. As Peter mentioned in his presentation, the deck size, while it was focused on quite a bit by public comment, has been reduced by 157 square feet. That's a 27% reduction. So we took seriously comments from the public last meeting and from this commission and reduced that, what we think is quite substantially. There's been a lot of talk about front setbacks and things. What has been conveniently ignored in public comment letters and was not mentioned in our earlier discussion was the fact that Land Use Code 2-229 specifically excludes porches, decks, and eaves. So based on the land use code's language, the wall of the primary structure is 15 feet from the front yard. So I really wanted to emphasize that. There's been some discussion of separating the primary structure and the accessory structure, and implication that they are one structure. That's simply not the case here. Our previous design had a long foundational wall running east to west, maybe more clearly connecting them with that foundational wall. As I believe Commissioner Lake pointed out earlier, that foundational wall ends now about 6 to maybe 8 feet prior to reaching the accessory structure. Now there's just some natural step down bouldering, as was specifically requested by this commission. Lastly, there's been discussion of the separation and yard space between the two structures. That has been extended about 8 feet from our previous iteration, and you can walk from the back of the primary structure to I guess we'll call it the front of the accessory structure, solely on the yard of the Stender property.
Thank you.
And I'll hand it over to Peter because I'm sure he has more design guideline focused comments.
Just a few quick comments. I think it's worth noting that our 15-foot setback to our street facing gable, not the front porch, but the house, is consistent with the home built to the south, which I was a part of, and is within inches of the house on Lot B to the north, which is material and I think consistent, shown on the PSA that you guys aren't concerned by. For mention, I think a land bridge was came up a couple of times as well, and I think they're referring to the north open space, or the when you look at the site and this topography, there is an upper bench and it transitions down to a lower alley grade. And I'm not sure what a land bridge is. We have quite a bit of higher grade on the north side, which is consistent every lot in town. Basically, it's higher to the north, and this is no different. We have grade that exists there today that we are stepping down onto. We are doing, for floodplain reasons, some excavation around the house, necessarily around the north side of the house, to comply with floodplain, and we're sort of tying in with that. And this grade is not some adverse dam or some weird thing, but it's connecting to the grades that are out there. And we're not bringing in fill. There's going to be probably a good amount of fill that gets removed. This is not an import in our understanding, material wise.
Yeah.
Can I follow up a question on that? On the driveway, I think somebody, maybe I misunderstood, but it sounded like that was the land bridge that you put in. You raised the grade in order to meet the house from the alley.
I don't think that's, no.
Essentially existing grade from the alley to the house.
Yes, we are cutting into the steeper slope that is below the bench, the upper bench that the house is sitting on, to get into the garage. So we have a garage door at the back wall, the east wall of the house, and we have a doorway into the mud room, or the back door to the house on that level. And the grades, we go from the sloping alley on the south side of the lot into the driveway, and it's comparatively flat. It's not that different than, I mean, we don't have weird grading transitions or retaining that or that we're creating to achieve that driveway. It's very manageable. We have a stepped retaining wall on the south side, just on the alley side of our garage door wall, to hold back the hill that's there, which you've seen in many drawings.
So the alley is coming up, heading north, correct? And you're turning into that.
Yeah.
And you've adjusted the grade a bit in order to make that transition. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're not sort of creating any retaining walls to the south neighbor to allow that driveway to be flattened. It's not put up on a plinth. It's not substantially cut in. It's basically tying into the existing grades. There's trees along that side as well. I mean, it's not doing really much.
I get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's on grade there.
Well, that was one question that was not asked, so I'm glad, Bob, that you asked it. And because I have a second question related to that final question, and that was when we saw a drawing from the public just questioning, since 1D2 says, it's encouraged to put the detached garage, along the alley. But we saw an option, and I understand your comment about where the garage is now, really couldn't get into it. But why is that not an option to consider with the green space and then the garage on the alley as per 1D2? Why is that not an option?
Can you restate the question? The option being?
Why is this not an option to do what we were showing on the public slide, showing the green space and the accessory building, and make that a garage on the first floor, right to the east of that, versus, in other words, the garage would have moved south, I don't know, 20 feet or something.
Right behind the house.
Yeah, right behind the house. We
So-
saw that. I'm just asking, why is that not doable? Because that's what the guidelines encourage, but I'm just asking, why is it not doable?
So you're asking, and I think you're talking about a site plan, a sort of colorful.
Yeah,
site plan
the
that
green,
shows
the
green
yellow,
space.
red,
Okay, so that,
that puts it on the alley and it could be accessed, unlike where it is now, where you cannot, and I'm sympathetic with that steep fall, you can't access it. But I'm just asking, what's wrong with that? Is that an
there's
option?
lots that we don't necessarily want to do, or there's plenty of reasons why that doesn't work well or the same. I think you have a lot of height constraints with an accessory structure you're well aware of. You can't have an 8-foot high garage door and make that work with the height restrictions.
Well, if it was relocated,
It's not gonna change that situation. I think the ground's gonna get flatter, and I think that the alley is gonna be similarly sloped. I think it's necessarily gonna be as close to the alley, if not closer than it's proposed today.
yeah.
It's gonna be slid down. The alley slope isn't going to change from the north location, sliding 10 feet or 15 feet to the middle of the lot.
It looks like it'd be
It's-
easier to access even with a 7-foot door.
The other things which you can imagine as a developer, or with that sort of hat on, is that the placement of this garage, this accessory structure has impacts not only to neighbors, but it has impacts of the relationship, the back of the house. If you put this structure in the middle or on the south side, it's in the direction of the view and the sun, and frankly, where that flatter accessible grade is for parking, which we also want. Which I
Okay, thank
mentioned
you.
before. Yeah.
Okay, and so related to that, I think we beat this with a stick, but I need to allow the public to make any other comments since I opened it up. You heard our concerns. If there's any other public comment to go back to this singular issue, you're welcome to get up and make it.
Thank you. Yes, I will do my best to just respond to what was addressed. First off is the deck size reduction. We can appreciate the deck size certainly has been reduced by 20-some%, it sounds like, but reducing something does not mean it complies necessarily if it started at such a large size. So I just want to point that out. We certainly understand and appreciate that the code specifically excludes porches within setbacks, but it also states or consistent with the block. And I understand that the code is to be interpreted in the more restrictive manner. I also recognize we're not considering the PSA, but just keep in mind that these agreements are to be construed in a manner that best shows the intent of the parties at that time. And the code was different at that time. So we're not going to get into those nuances, but the code was different at that time. And these exceptions that are currently allowed weren't allowed then.
I wasn't opening up all the issues. It was just about the garage.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can stop then.
Oh, no, if you have something to say about the garage, I welcome it.
Yeah, I mean, all I would say about the garage is that we have our own consulting architect who disagrees, who's looked at the site, who knows the site really well. And they believe that it's workable so long as the deck was condensed and the accessory building was pushed
Okay.
back. So
All right, thank
I'll
you.
leave it at there,
That's,
at their opinion.
and we have 3 architects and an engineer up here too, so we'll deliberate.
You guys.
We'll see where it goes. Well, wait a minute. Is this about the garage? Okay, go up there and go ahead and give your comment in there.
Obviously, we'd be happy to study it further. We realize as the public, we're not supposed to be designing the project, but it is apparently a grade that is acceptable to drive in because that's why the driveway is there. And so all that the suggestion is put the parking garage where the driveway is. And if you can drive
I
into the
understand.
driveway, it would seem that one could drive into a garage.
Yep.
And
Thank you.
that's what the guideline.
Thank you. Okay, so thanks for allowing the leniency in the discussion, and so we'll go to deliberations. I'm gonna start with just a couple comments because I think it's narrowing down just a couple of your issues. The easy one is condition 2 is correct with Kristen, but AS4 clearly says no dormers, or if they are there, that they need to be moved as far away from the alley as possible. So that's something I'd like to hear the architects your comment on. And or maybe if it's reduced, I'm not necessarily saying it be eliminated, but of course, that's what 4 says, are not found. That's dormers, are not found. I don't know how to ignore that. Well, staff did not include it,
It
but
does say that, but in the alley guidelines, there's a photograph of a shed with a dormer. It's not on the alley, but it's there.
I think we could get the
There-
legal input, but in case of discrepancy, usually the written word dominates. What I remember from my contract law, but anyway. But thank you for noting that we've got a photo that probably wasn't updated, and when we updated the guidelines, thanks, Stacy. The second comment I make is I'm really struggling. This is why I want to hear from the architects. Because this is gonna be kind of an architectural decision, I can see. And is this accessory building and garage? I mean, 10.2 is clear, it's encouraged. And I think I know the answer now. And I appreciated the candor of the applicant. Since you can drive down this alley and turn in the driveway, you could drive down the alley, and if the garage was where the driveway is, you can go right in the garage. I mean, I'm not stupid. But it interferes with some of the view from the client's house. And it may cause some other problems by moving it to the south. So I'm not prescribing this. I'm just throwing it out there for the architects to chew on. And then the last thing would be, you know what? Really, those are the only two things that I have. I think the front porch, I mean, we know what the land use code says. So it's adding, or it's doing something with this dormer or eliminating it. And could the garage be another place, which is not necessarily convenient to the applicant, but the driveway it also says to minimize the length of a driveway. And then we've got, I'm not sure if I know the longer driveway.
Could you clarify for me which guideline you're, right? You said 10.2, but 10 is
10D2, sorry. 10D2?
There is no 10D.
Where are you in that?
Oh, I'm in, back to the transitional hillside, sorry. Stacy, 10D2. I had copied it over.
Where'd it go?
10D, 10.
I think we're following the
Oh, wait a minute.
2015.
No, I'm sorry, it's 1D2.
Right?
Alley standards 1D2, sorry,
We all have our 2024.
yeah, but I brought my 15 book out today and I worked for half an hour on this, going through every guideline in 15 versus 24. I know this to be fact, this language did not change. And plus I was on 3-person committee that wrote this.
Okay, well, which one is it again?
1D2.
AS 1D2.
Alexander, yeah. The use of detached garage located is especially encouraged. And then elsewhere in the guideline and some of the public side, it says to minimize, if that's not gonna happen, minimize the driveway. I'm troubled by the length of the driveway and the fact that we could accommodate what the guideline says by having the garage on the alley. I also agree with the applicant. It looks like it might not be set back as far, which is encouraged. And I don't think I brought a thing new. I know you want to say something, but I don't think I brought up something new, did I?
You're introducing
Huh?
you're introducing an idea we haven't sort of spoken.
No, we just did that. We just went over it. I said, why isn't that feasible? And then you gave me the reasons why it wasn't.
Given you reasons, I can give it to you again.
You did. You already got them and I processed them. And I just mentioned one, it interferes with
forgot
views of the house.
The garage door height is constrained in the accessory structure. There's a height restriction that doesn't allow for an 8-foot high garage door. That is material. to
Okay.
The usefulness, especially in a steep, to your point, a steep transition that's rather immediate.
But a car will go in a
And
7
the
foot.
number of parking spaces that this.
Yeah, you get 2 here and you only get 1 if it's
There's
where it is.
three, there's 4 or more in this design.
Okay, good points.
And that is not met.
Those
So-
some additional points that you made.
All right,
Thank
sorry.
you. And I'm glad you made them. Okay. So those are the 2 things I'm struggling with. Maybe everybody else has got other issues, but I'd love to hear how you look at
I
these.
just want to make sure you, on the transitional hillside, you quoted, was it 10?
No, AS, alley
Alley
standards.
standards 1D2. I
What?
apologize.
Oh, okay. I
I-
got those. I understand those.
Rather than
Okay.
1D, I said 10 and it was 1D. So
So-
anyway, it, just says locate garage along the alley. And we've heard from the applicant several reasons now, besides the view, why it should,
Well,
and
it
it might
does,
not be
just
feasible.
to, if you want to parse it out, it says to be accessed from the alley, which they are doing. 2 says a detached garage located along the alley is encouraged.
Right.
Now,
Is especially encouraged.
no, I understand. So 2, they are complying with.
Okay.
2, they're perhaps not.
Right, and that's why you get more into specificity when you get into 1, 2, 3, 4. I
Understood.
mean, that's the, you know that, I mean.
Yep.
So, Bob, go ahead, you started to comment, so tell me how you feel about these 2 issues and any other issues, and we'll go right down the line and let everybody speak. Then we can wrap this up.
Well, I don't have a problem with condition 1 or 2. I think getting rid of the bay window.
Yeah.
And we're asking them to step the building down as well toward the alley. So it's not just a straight 2-level facade. Reducing the deck, some open space there. I know that we've got this issue with the driveway. I'm conflicted about the idea of moving the building behind the other building a bit, because it is 2 stories and will be blocking the view, which I think is toward that
We
direction.
block the neighbor's view or we block their view?
Well, if it's
Where it is, I mean.
where it is
block
now,
nobody's view
but if you moved it down, then she's still blocking the view.
Of that same neighbor, probably. Yeah.
But
You're probably right.
I mean, their view is from their property line out. This is this project's property line out.
Yep.
So I don't
You're not in
understand.
favor of relocating. Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay, how about
I did think we sort of put to bed these views through private property conversations. I thought we did that.
well, this has stood for 8 months and I'm not, if something this important, I just wanted to rekindle it before we have a motion. I hope we would all agree with 1 and 2, but Bob has stated his position on relocating that, and then it was then the dormer. Yeah, I'm saying that's what your comment was. Dormer, you said what?
Oh, I didn't say anything about the dormer.
It's A4.
Oh, well,
Dormers were not found on alley structures, and if they are.
to add a condition about that?
Yeah.
I think it could be moved further
Yeah.
east
West.
and maybe west. Yes, west.
Okay,
And maybe it's smaller.
okay. I can go with that rather than eliminate it. I mean, when I started, go ahead. Go ahead, Stacy.
Well, first of all, the dormer on the east elevation projects. It's the opposite of stepping down. So eliminating the bay on the east facade, I think is supported by the guidelines.
Oh, yeah. We
Yeah.
all agree with 1 and 2, I think. Yep.
The dormer is not on the alley. We can talk about pushing it further east, perhaps. I'm sorry, further west, perhaps. We could talk about the size of that window, which is large. But I don't mind the dormer being present.
Okay, but
Right.
here's what the language says. It doesn't say the dormer needs to be on the alley. It says,
No, I know that's not what it says.
I know, it says if the dormers were not found on alley structures anywhere, front, back, side.
Well, it might say that, but that's not true because they're there.
Well,
There's a
anyway.
Photo of one right there.
If they're used, locate them away from the alley elevation.
Sure.
That was Bob.
Now
You
we're
good with that?
Now we're gonna argue about away from means.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
flexible.
right now it's proximate to the alley
I
corner.
understand your point.
It could be moved further away, but I'm not talking about eliminating it.
Well, that's what this says, but I'm not.
I'm
I
just
started this by-
clarifying the difference between my position and your.
Well, just say if they're used, look them away from the alley.
Heard it. I've already drank the Kool-Aid. Smaller and
Well,
relocate.
listen to what Bob just had to say.
I'm
It says if they're used.
Yeah, if they're used, locate them away from the alley. Yeah.
Which says that they could be used.
Yeah.
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 So
In some cases.
I
in
would
some
say
cases.
push it further
And so I'm agreeing with Bob
west
on that condition.
and make it
And
smaller.
Lisa, you're
I
next.
think, when it comes to the dormer, I'm completely in line with Stacy.
Bay. Bay.
Oh, the bay,
Oh, sorry, I'm just making sure we're talking about the same thing.
no. The bay, which is proposed to be facing the alley, I mean, this is obviously not complying with the,
Right.
with the policy. The dormer should be moved further away from the alley and then.
We're
that's-
unanimous.
Yeah. unanimous.
Thank you.
That- yeah, At least one thing we agree on.
How about, well, we're all agreed. How about the garage? Leave it where it is.
That's a tricky one. I mean, it's a tricky site. We've been chewing on this for a long time. I've missed a few of those meetings, but it's a very, very tricky site. And I think, you know, the architect and his team have made a tremendous improvement since we first viewed this. And I think with reducing the deck, that would help with mitigating some of the issues with that the neighbors have. That's for sure. But using the accessory building as a garage probably won't solve that problem. I can hear that. I can see this as an architect as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
I respect that, so I'm done with that.
Yeah, I
Um,
think we've chewed on this plenty.
Okay,
I will say it is a very steep alley.
Yes.
You
it's very
need-
steep.
Pulling up into a garage, as you would the driveway, is functionally possible. Backing out of that, I think you need a landing spot, which this driveway provides.
okay.
Now, is the driveway longer than we wish it was? Yes.
Yeah, but we also get more parking, which we encourage.
And we're after substantial, not total.
And what are they proposing for material for the driveway?
Oh,
Oh,
good point, Bob.
Well, it's paved, what I would call wheel path with green space between. They're providing as much green, you know, we could push that harder and say grasscrete or, you know, blah, 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 which gets torn up anyway.
hard to maintain.
Yeah.
Sure.
But
Have a lot of
Done that.
retaining walls above.
we've had those pavers with more grass than pavers before in driveways. I guess that's why you brought it up. So I think we should try to maximize the amount of green space in there.
I think,
I would agree.
don't you think they've done that?
Not as much as I've seen with us on some other paver layouts.
Do we have the detail for the pavers?
What page is that, Stacy? Is there a plan?
Well, it's in the plan view, it's in the site plan,
What drawing page?
it's in 103, 102, 101.
Proposed crushed gravel stone path.
Oh, the
Proposed solid
Sorry,
surface
the detail.
driveway.
Where does it say pavers in green?
801,
I'm sorry, A01?
8,
801, yeah. Okay.
Permeable pavers.
Oh, here we go.
That's tough to render and model, so.
And I understand that. So Bob, you brought it up. Would you rather see grass with pavers versus just permeable? Or more green than paver or what?
Well, I
what'd
think
you
this
bring?
is what I would propose, the permeable pavers. I don't know what the other option would be.
All right. Everybody good with this? Surface? Okay. So what I think I understand is 1 and 2 is written. By the way, I will comment. The size of the deck is 45% of the house square footage. So I agree with 1 and I agree
You
with.
mean on that level, not the total?
Yeah, right on that level. And I agree with Kristen's comment number 2. I think a condition 3 could just be the relocation and reduction of the dormer on the accessory building. Per us. The.
I had it right here.
I know, I just wrote it down 3 times. Yes, AS 1D2. 1. No. 4, it's 4, AS 4 intro. AS 4 intro. So that could be a 3. And I guess that's it. Is that the end? Are we all there? All right, good job of discussion and debate. Shed.
I'm just making sure I got it all right. here.
Okay,
I haven't made a
Location,
condition.
reduction.
I haven't made a motion. I'll make one.
Go for it.
I'd like to make a motion.
thank you.
I move to approve the proposed small-scale new construction, insubstantial scale new construction at 420 North Aspen, Lot C, Block 3, Halls Edition, based on the findings in the staff memo dated August 20, 2025, and with the following conditions. Condition 1 is stated. Although I would add the word substantially further reduce the size of the deck, 425. Well, sorry.
Okay,
That's good.
Condition 2, as stated. And an additional condition 3, shift the accessory dormer west further from the alley per policy AS 4 A. Is that the right one?
intro.
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 Yep. Yes, intro.
And what about reducing the size?
You can add that as family amendment if you would like. This motion is based on evidence and testimony provided at a public hearing held on August 20, 2025, with notice of such hearing provided as required by the Utility Land Use Code. Revised plans incorporated the conditions of approval shall be submitted within 60 days of this approval, or this approval becomes null and void. Unless otherwise indicated, the revised drawings submitted for a certificate of appropriateness must be a complete set with any changes to the drawings clouded and labeled. Any changes to the drawings beyond the conditions of approval may result in more than one submittal being required.
Thank you.
Friendly amendment.
Talk to him. He's in charge.
I will entertain your friendly amendment.
Okay,
Second yet, so if
Oh.
you want to make another condition,
Oh.
you can just add it.
okay.
Whoa, well,
He's got to accept it though.
but yeah, he's got to accept it.
So we'll second the motion first, and then we'll accept friendly amendments and more discussion.
No, because I'm going to make the comment.
I'll second the motion.
Okay,
All right.
I would modify condition 3 to relocate and reduce the size of the shed dormer per AS4 intro.
I will accept your friendly amendment.
Aren't we all friendly? Okay, so we have a motion, and we have a second. And Stacy, will you vote?
I vote yes.
Mark, yes?
Bob, yes.
Elisa, yes.
Thank you. Board and staff discussion, Kristen, Darren, and I have a point under board and staff discussion before we adjourn.
Sure. So for board and staff discussion, we were initially planning on reviewing the HARC Preservation Awards nominations and applications. Unfortunately, just due to our numbers this evening, we have decided to postpone the review to our September meeting. But we did have 7 applications.
7. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Great. But thank you. You doubled the amount with your outreach, and I can't wait to see what it is, but we'll wait. Like waiting for a birthday party.
I know.
The undated. My only additional discussion is of our 17 strategic planning items, there were 3 that there were 3 that the board felt we needed to do, and I'd just like to just get an update if staff is still considering doing them this year. And 2 of them were sensitive to doing this fall because of the oncoming winter. Number 1 was the alley watch list before more of these decay and collapse historic buildings. We have the alley list. I know it was done about 2 years ago, and I think I'm sure Darren knows where to find it. And it's just somebody walking around to the ones that were vulnerable and saying, here's 10 of them. And I've walked them. And there's, what do we have? 200 some alley structures. And I think there's 10, 12, but once those roofs cave in, then we're in real trouble. So I'd just like to ask, could you do that this fall before winter so we could notify the owners that they need to repair the roofs? Or
I would say in terms of timeline, right now, my team is focused very intensely on supporting our architects, builders, our building community during the building season. So we need, the next month, 2 months, we're going to be very, very busy, doing our best to be responsive and expedite reviews at all scales. Subsequent to that, we are so excited to follow up on the project that's on our strategic priorities. And I could see that happening in late October, November, in this calendar year.
Okay, just so we
So,
beat the winter
yes.
notifications.
Yes,
That's
I,
great.
so,
I'm good
so
with that.
timeline, realistic timeline.
The second one was that we agreed that we wanted to have, because it's been 5 years, a public outreach seminar to discuss the 24 new design guidelines, some of the land use code changes, encourage work sessions, and actually, Kristen, I know you endorse this too, a number of things to help the applicants. And I guess the question is that going to happen this fall?
So question, and actually this might be a good one for our architects who are in the room and who might have a sense of timing. From my perspective, it seems like that kind of training and resource might be best in the off season, like in the sort of winter, early in the next calendar year, perhaps when it's a little bit not as active in terms of the building season. But I would welcome your insights as to the timing so that we get a nice critical mass, because I absolutely support that, Mark, and just want to know when's best.
I'll go with the majority of the group's thought. I mean, we waited 5 years, I guess, months, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I'm generally not here the second half of October and all of November. So, and in December, depends on the weather, if we could do something like that or not. I'm not sure off-season makes sense because people disappear.
Well, I think she meant off building
Yes,
construction. In other words, in the winter.
That was my intent.
I
She
see.
was
Yeah.
covering the winter.
Yes.
Can you tell me like what it means, like what is
I can share it with you because I
Yeah,
helped
please.
design the first one. I'm the only one in the room that was there.
Yeah, please.
Sure.
So we reached out to the public, put notice out. It was taking the heart out of heartache was the catchy name. How to expedite, how to get through faster and easier, to avoid the pain. And so we accumulated, just before John left, a number of topics, like the new 24 guidelines, like there were some land use code changes, like encouraging work sessions, which I know Kristen does. And then Sam, there's some building changes. Oh my God, there's so many changes in the last even 2 years. There's more than a one.
And there's
but-
more coming.
But we can't have a 2-day seminar. You can't tie up these people. You get 4 hours maybe to try to condense all this. So that's what it is and what it was and what it is. And I think there's a real need, but I'm just asking what could be the timing.
I
So if
think
we
in,
winter's better, she asked us to tell her.
yeah, not to get, not to steer us in a different direction, but just to share with you, we are currently undergoing a building code update, and that update will likely go through its second reading in September, and we will be doing separately a building code lunch for the building community to update everyone on the building codes, working with Sam and Tommy. So that has urgency because we're about to release,
Well,
a large volume. So I'm not sure about overlapping them, but I hadn't realized that's how we've done it in the past.
look.
So I'm sharing that.
I can tell you the answer looking at our customers. We did this last time. We had some building code changes then. Okay. I think it's best to integrate them into one presentation because people are not going to come twice. And I know some, but probably not all of those building code changes. And, if you give them an hour and a half and you give an hour to the design guideline changes, which is just hitting a couple of more substantive zones that changed, just as a suggestion. And then the, why work sessions, that's 15 minutes. What's the value? And whatever else, Kristen, you would like to encourage them to make sure they understand where we're coming from, the newest tools and, the updates on building codes, guidelines and land use code. And to help our customers get through this more efficiently and to You know, the biggest efficiency tool we have is not to have continue. And anything we can do to help educate the public in this and get started on the right foot at the first hearing, it's a win-win. So, but Stacy, are you good with winter? I mean, I think we better give up on the fall right now. I mean, I'd rather get this alley standard thing before the buildings collapse. We gotta pick one for fall or no, October, November. I mean, it's 4 hours of a staff member walking around and with the list, Darren, you know where the list is electronically? Do you think you could find it?
Yeah, sure, we definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just mark,
Didn't James do it?
wasn't that far back.
Mhm.
I think Jonna had somebody do it. James did do one when he was on the ARC.
I did it,
He said, well,
100 years ago.
but whatever the last listing was, and I think it's 4 hour walk, and I think it's I mean, I've walked in enough. I don't think there's 20, but I think there's 10 to 12 that are at risk.
There's a few that I've had my eye on, so I understand.
What?
There's a few that I've been keeping an eye on myself,
Okay,
so
so you're starting your own watch list. Are you
Yeah.
volunteering for this or what?
I would be happy to do it.
Oh, anyway, okay, so winter, maybe the integrated seminar and alley watch list, and I don't want to bother you with anything else until you get the rest of your staff in place, blah, blah, blah.
Great.
So, any other discussion? If not, we'll adjourn at 9:14. Good job. Thank you. These were not easy projects. Thanks staff for your write-ups. And we'll go from there.